Here we go. Let's see. All right, I think I'm getting it here. Tori, hello Tori, ATOC Lifestyle from Ocala, right? And Larry, I think there's a couple more people in here. Those are the comments right now. All right, I'm just getting set up. Thomas, how's everyone doing? All righty, I'm just trying something a little different. Can y'all hear me? Can anybody thumbs up? Or yes, or hello? Make sure I got my microphone on. Hydroponic Gardening Plus, how are you? Okay. Not much. How are you doing? Just winding up the weekend? Yep, Tad, cool. So y'all can hear me? Like I said, this is new software. And let's see, let me get rid of that up top for now. I can put something else on there. All right, cool. How's everyone doing? I'll try something a little different. This software, if you notice up here, says little powered by StreamYard, and it's so that I can like interview with someone else. It's a real easy one to use. It doesn't take up a lot of like memory on your computer. What do you call it? Like last week, I was doing it with OBS and Streamlabs, and I don't know if any of y'all were with me towards the end of it. Everything kind of froze up. Cool. All right, Tad, you can hear me. Larry, is that Hubert Young from Manitoba, Canada? Hello, how are you? Larry, great, I can hear you. All right. All right, so I'm just going to come on here. Like I said, these little live streams are just going to be little informal, like us just getting together. If anybody's got questions, you know, I can try and answer them before it gets too. Last week, it was like we had over 50 people at one time, and they're asking questions, and I kind of got behind, and I apologize if I forgot any. And then I went back to answer them in the comments, and there were like 200 or 300 comments. So it's kind of hard going through everything, but if anybody's got questions, I think the questions that are popping up here, I can kind of like just highlight, you know, a name and what's going on. And then we can talk about that. If not, you know, I can just kind of tell you all what I've got going on and what's coming up the next week. Grew some microgreens, and we're getting ready to plant them out. Nazariah Dragon from Huntsville. Hubert. Hey, how are you doing? Cool. Yeah, and I'm growing some microgreens. I went, if you all remember that, like that wall that we had with all the pak choy on it, then we planted out lettuce. And I told you it was still kind of cool. It wasn't real hot yet. And I was going to try and put another whole thing of lettuce in and get that back in before we really get hot here. All of the home improvement stores and Walmart and everything up here didn't have any lettuce, or didn't have any that even looked like it was good quality. And most of them were just completely out. It's just down to tomatoes and peppers. So unless you want to just grow tomatoes and peppers from here on out, if you haven't planted your garden yet, it's going to be hard to get anything. You're going to have to grow it from seed. So I didn't get any lettuce. You know, I don't know if they're getting another shipment in. it's funny because the people at Lowe's over here, and I think Home Depot I talked to also. Mike, when are you coming to Ocala? I'm going to try and make it soon. Tad, there's different things that I have to do. There's someone I want to meet down in Ocala too. Besides you, there's a couple of people, and then someone in Gainesville too. I don't know if y'all remember. I said my wife's making these big centerpieces, her channel she's got going on. After she does those and does a video, we really don't have any use for them. And we thought if she did them before the holidays, that it'd be nice to take it somewhere and like donate it to like a child's hospital or nursing home or something like that. And there's a place down there in Gainesville that we had painted. Somebody started some murals and then they never came back, and we came back and finished them up. And we'd like to take something down there to them. And so we might be around Gainesville and Ocala too. So try to make it sometime soon. Let's see. It's good to be popular. Yeah, we're not all that popular. What do we got here? I'm just outside Citrus County, right on the border. Okay, we got a couple people from Florida down here. It's pretty cool. When I was going back through the comments, it was pretty cool. Even now, I'll get a little notification pop up whenever somebody gets on and watches it and comments. There's like 1,000 views from the one we did a couple of weeks ago. And people are still coming on and saying, hey, hello from New Zealand or hello from Australia. And it's pretty cool. I like getting the little pop-ups like that, and then somebody saying hey from all around the world, and even here, United States and Canada and all over the place. Let's see. I have 80 acres. I want to start market gardening. We'll be starting with microgreens. Cool. Hubert, have you watched any Pepe Fassos videos? He's from Australia. I know it's a little different and they have different rules and regulations, but as far as just setting up, he started in a little sunroom. Really wasn't all that big, and he set up some wire racks, and I don't think they were even grow lights. They were just probably like the T5s or something. He probably just had some fluorescent lights, and he's doing that. He's got a traditional garden outside with some greens, but he's like killing it. And he's to the point where he was going out to farmers market and selling at the local farmers market on a weekend. And then he was going to the grocery stores and putting some in the grocery stores. And now he's got chefs that want his stuff, to put on their plates. Not as, people use microgreens. They started out when they first came out, it was like a fad and was used for garnish. Now people like them because of the flavor. I mean, when you have a radish microgreen compared to, like a lettuce microgreen, they're completely different. So they're using these, especially like pea shoots and the sunflower sprouts. They love it. And he's got like some high-end chefs and that are wanting his stuff now, but he's a real good guy to watch and to see. And he's also, if anybody's into the like trying to get rid of plastic and things like that, he's into like almost completely getting rid of plastic as far as all of his packaging and that goes too. So that's pretty cool if you check him out. I think if y'all come back later and look in the description, I think I put him down there. And there's a couple other gardeners that I kind of followed, and we're all chat with each other over the years, and we learned a lot from each other. I think I've got his name down there. And let me see. But yeah, that'd be cool if you can start it. I'd like maybe when I get off the road, we've got a little farmer's market about 2 miles from here, and they have nothing like that. I'd like to maybe do that, but like right now that I'm gone so much, I couldn't just leave everything. But that would be really cool to just grow some microgreens and leafy greens and sell them. And see what else. I'll ask. Not sure if any idea I could find out if my cucumbers are self-pollinating. I googled it, but come up with nothing. My few. I don't know, because I've heard different things. Maybe if we get some other gardeners in here that know, maybe they can answer you. I wouldn't know how to tell if they were self-pollinating or not. I've heard that some were, and that you didn't need, kind of like your tomato plants, which would be ideal if you're growing inside. You're doing like the hydroponics, because you might not have like 5 or 10 plants inside your house. You might just have one big cucumber plant. So I really don't know how to tell, but like I said, if you can hook up with any of the people that are down below, let's see, who is it? Brent. It says hydroponic farming with Brent, and I'll have his description down there. If he pops in here, I'll tell him to put his link up. But he grows with hydroponics, and I know he's done cucumbers in the past, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, squash, and he actually crossbreeds all of these and comes up with his own breeds and saves the seeds. So, you know, he's really into it. And I'm pretty sure that he's done cucumbers. So if you want to hook up with him, I'm sure he can answer your questions about that. I am growing a little potato cucumber. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I saw those, and it should do better inside. I don't know if like a regular cucumber, if those, you know, are you doing all your growing inside? I think I looked at your channel there. Good day, mate from Australia. Scott Sawyer, hello from Australia. How are you doing? Let's see, plotting out space for a square foot garden. Hubert, yeah, those work very well. Like I said, just because I do hydroponics doesn't mean, you know, that's the end all beat all. If I get to stay home, we used to have a square foot garden. That was pretty cool because we just set up, what is it, 4 feet by 4 feet, and that gives you like 16 little spots, and you could put one plant in each one, or 3 or 4, depends on what you're growing and how dense it can be. But we set it up and put a little irrigation. Like I said, you need timers if you're going to be gone. If you're home, lots of you guys are home, you work and you come home every night and you can check on your garden and you can water, or if it doesn't get, you know, you can manage it. The reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is, like I said, my schedule, I work for myself. Me and my wife, we're self-employed, and it's hard we don't have a set schedule. So sometimes we might be home for 3 or 4 days, and then we might be gone for 1 day, or we might be gone for 8 days, or, you know, it varies on each job. So it's kind of hard to like get a schedule as far as getting out there and taking care of things. So that's why I do this. But if you work and you come home every day, square foot garden is like just awesome. I've done that before, and it works really well. So that's pretty good. If y'all do that, I don't know if I put the link, but I'll do it later. My Facebook group, the Keep On Growing, a lot of you guys have already went over there. If you do anything like that, post some pictures and share it with people. They all love that over there. Let's see, nice. Just picked up an LED set, growing microgreens for personal use and experiment. Can't wait to start. Awesome. Yeah, like I said, you know, post some pictures for us. We'd like to see it. And if Brad pops in here from Hidden Harvest Grow Lights, I like to have him on one night. That's why I'm trying to use this software, so I can like have someone else on here to talk with y'all. But he made his own grow light, and I think it only uses something like 36 watts or something. But it's full spectrum light, and he's got videos on the stuff he's growing in his basement, and it's just incredible. So I'll have him on one night. Hello from Trinidad and Tobago. Hey, how are you, Darius? Hello. Hi, I'm Mark. Y'all forgive me if I kind of miss anything. I'll try and go back through here, but like I said, I'm kind of new at trying to keep up with all of these comments and that. Mark from Haiti, thanks for what you bring to hydroponics. I started producing basil. What best way to make it profitable? Basil's really cool. I don't know if you've seen, I've got a video from last year, or maybe almost 2 years ago, and we grew basil. I got a 16-gallon tote and put 4 plants. Might have had like 2 plants in each spot, but there were 4 spots, and that thing like grew. It was like a huge bush. We'd go out there and trim it all back. The trick with basil, I think, is keeping it topped off so it doesn't like flower. My wife, it's a little problem with her because she likes the little basil flowers. When it flowers, she likes to pick them and actually eat those too. But if you can keep it topped off and get it to bush out and kind of keep it, don't let it get so packed in that it's dense and then the leaves on the inside, you know, because you're like less than 4 square feet of area, and you've got all these plants packed in, that it can get dense, and you can get mildew and different problems in there. So kind of keep it spaced out a little, but don't let it just get all long and scraggly. And that if you keep topping it off and pinching off the, I guess you call them like suckers, like tomato plants, you can pull those off and stick those in a little water, just, you know, like this. Pop the little suckers off the basil, just like you do tomatoes, put them in that, and those will start to grow. And once you get basil going, you'll have basil, like, even if you're eating pest on that, you'll have it all summer long. It's just awesome. Let's see. Where else am I? Trinidad, Canova, moved to Canada once for moved to Canada when I was 14 years old. Okay, so you're up in Canada now. So that's a little different. You had went from a little tropical climate up to Canada. So basil's probably a little bit different growing it up there. I will be growing outdoors in the summer, hydro for the winter. Okay, hydroponic gardening. That's what I do. Just here in Florida. Tad can attest to this. We haven't really had too many cold days. I mean, it was a real mild winter. I thought I was going to clear out half of my garage and move all my plants inside. And there was maybe 2 days, I think, that we threw sheets over everything. And the rest of the time was just mild weather. It hasn't really been cold. So I just left everything outside. George, how are you doing? Hello, Mike, and everyone else. Hey, George, appreciate you. George, I've seen you like all over the place and that, and really appreciate you. So hello, thanks for showing up. And forget what you're doing. Are you just growing hydro? You got a traditional garden too? What are you up to? Hey, Hubert, always good to meet other Trinidades. Okay, cool. So that's another one. Okay, so when I saw Trinidad and Tobago, I was actually looking at two different people there. I'm sorry about that. When I saw the same, I thought it was the same person. Who else? We'll be using to start a self-watering container, sort of hydro. Yeah, there's all different ways to do things. Like I said, it's what I'm doing, like the off-grid hydroponics, like Dr. Kratky was doing. It was so that everybody can start and everybody can learn. But once you do that and you kind of got the basics down, if you want to go and get pumps or meters and you want to go ahead and kick up your hydroponics, you can get really, really intense with it and grow real fantastic produce. Like I said, this isn't like saying that this is going to replace traditional hydro. This is to get everybody's foot in the door, because when I started, when I was looking it up, because I was on the road, I had have a traditional garden, and I'd be gone for like a week and come back and my irrigation that would have tripped or something, and everything was dead. And I did that a couple of years in a row. It was just heartbreaking. I was looking at hydroponics too, because I thought maybe you could set it up, and I heard you got backup timers or whatever, but maybe if it was flowing through there, it might, last a little longer than a traditional garden. And when I saw Dr. Kratky doing it like off grid, like no pumps, no electricity, that like blew my mind. And then I started trying that, and it worked, no little 1 gallon containers. And the reason why I tried something like this was just that I was trying to kick it up a little, where, I had a couple of containers and it was working well, but I wanted more. And so I did that to fit my needs. But everyone else, if you want to start right out, if you've got the money, you've got the time, and you want to, look up all the things on YouTube and learn, how to do traditional hydro, it's just awesome. There's aeroponics, there's aquaponics, there's all kinds of stuff to get into, but it's just great to know how to grow some of your own food. Not like, saying like the world's going to end tomorrow, or something's going to happen and the government's not going to let us, that the prices are going to go so high we can't afford it, but I'm just saying that it seems like food is like a basic necessity of life. It's like water net. And it seems like a lot of people nowadays, not just America, like all over the world, that we're almost dependent on other people for our food. That not that they're giving it to us, but we have to work, and that we have to go out and go buy it somewhere or go to a restaurant, and that we can't provide just a basic necessity for ourselves. That when you start doing that, and instead of going up to the grocery store and buying lettuce every week, if you just go in your backyard and pick it, you kind of get a little sense of that you can do something yourself, and it's really rewarding. Let's see, who's next? Amanda. I'm new into hydroponics and worry about the pH levels of the rock wool. Okay, that's what, like I said, it's if anybody, wants to worry about pH, they've got meters you can order. You can get them on Amazon for 10 or 20 bucks. I don't mess with any of it. Everything seems to be working. I test, little batches when I first moved here, and I did that when I moved to my last place that I was at. And when I found something that worked, I just did it. The rock wool, the reason why I didn't use it was because I was testing and experimenting, and I'd test, and some of them wouldn't work out right, or I'd grow some stuff and they want to go, to maturity, and I toss it out, and I was tossing out the rock wool, and then I had to go back to the hydro shop, and I was paying like $15 or something for a slab, or when I started years ago, Amazon wasn't like real big. You couldn't just order and it was at your door. I had to drive like an hour to the hydro shop and get it. So the reason why I stopped using it was that it was costing me more to grow some leafy greens than it was if I just went to the store and just bought some. But some people I've heard about the pH. One thing you can look up some other videos online in that. Everybody I know, I think that they soak the rock wool in. If anybody in the chat knows this, let her know. I don't know if it's a little lemon juice or a little baking soda, or if you have pH up or pH down. They soak it for a couple of minutes or an hour before they actually plant, because there is a problem with the pH with it sometimes. But like I said, so that's one thing. I grow the microgreens, and we just pull those out. Then you get the pool noodle and just holds on to it, so you're not worried about the roots growing through a piece of rock wool, of like spun rock, that you're just going to grow it in, and then you're going to toss it out. The pool noodle is actually just holding the plant in place. It's not like a substrate for it to grow through like the hydroton or the rock wool. It's just holding the stem and letting the roots dangle down, so you don't have to worry about. And most of the time the pool noodle isn't even touching the nutrient solution, so that's why I use it. Got mine from Costco. You did? What's that, rock wool? Or are they selling hydroponic supplies? Grow basil. Awesome. Grow lights from Hidden Harvest. Oh, okay. So you did get yours from Brad? Cool. If you didn't join the Facebook group, do that and post some pictures, of your grow at different stages. You don't have to wait till it's like you've got a mature plant. You say, just kind of share what's going on. And what do you call it? I'm saving up. I have one little shelf that I'm growing microgreens on. And that'd be, I don't know if y'all saw the last video I just put out. But like I said, it's Florida. Almost everything's outside. I thought I was going to bring stuff in. So I had a used light from years ago, and I just put that up. But I really don't need to grow inside. But I was looking at Brad's stuff, and on down the road here, I might get me a couple and try this, because I'm real fascinated by it. Grow basil with tomatoes. Cool. So is that because it tastes good, or is there a reason like for them to be like sister plants or growing together, or just because you like caprice? Hi, from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Glad to see other people from the Caribbean here. Awesome. I've been having a lot of people. Hey, Marty, there's one guy right there, guys. If you see him, he's actually been on YouTube for, you can correct me in the chat, Marty, if you are, I think over 8 years, because I know I've been trying to grow, and back when I first got started, Marty was one of the first guys that I started watching about microgreens and everything. But if you all see him, you all want to learn something, you got to check out his channel. And he's doing all kinds of cool stuff right now with, he's made his own compost, and he's actually which like me, I'm living in a house, and with my landlord, I can't just go out back and just tear up the whole backyard. So we have little spaces that we like to call them urban gardens, and small spaces. But he's kind of doing that with like straw bale gardening and all kinds of stuff, and it's really fascinating. So y'all make sure you check out Marty. And Marty, if you ever want to see me live streaming and you want to get on here, just let me know. And I don't know if or anybody on here too, if we're hooked up on Twitter. I'm like Mike Van Duzy, like the name of the channel, on I think all social media platforms. And if we hook up on Instagram or Twitter, I think I can just get your this little code and just email you the code, and you can join me in the chat. I'm sure lots of people here would like to hear from you. Y'all let me know if I skip by anybody here too. White rock wool is not acidic, neutral pH. Okay, that's good to know. Hydroponic gardening. If anybody saw that about the rock wool. Like I said, I don't know everything. I started learning about hydroponics and studying, and I was just like, and after I went and spent so much money, and like the traditional nutrients that they have for it, there's like 2-part things, and I was buying it and said you need this part A and part B, and each one was like $30 a piece, and you had to be careful how you mix them or they'd coagulate, and then the hydroton and everything that went with it, it was getting like really expensive. So that's why I found Dr. Kratky stuff, and I started trying to learn that, because I just couldn't afford to get all of that stuff just to, I was trying to grow my own food to make ends meet. And then I was, looking up the hydroponics, and it was going to cost me like $1,000 to get all this stuff. All righty, let's see. Start talking about it. I was talking about my chart at work. Had a coworker offer to buy some, just made 15 bucks. Awesome. Hey, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, Tori. And that chart is just awesome. That I keep showing pictures, and sometimes our chart looks a little straggly, but it's because we eat it. If you know that once these plants get established in a system, you can go by and just harvest like a lot of chard, and the stuff will just grow back. You just get all the outer leaves, and it just keeps coming and coming. But not if you're going to like take it and cut it up and cook it down. You can take like 2 bunches of chard and cook it down to like a couple of servings. We like to eat it raw. My wife actually takes them and uses them. She's gluten intolerant, and she can't have flour, so she uses them as rolls to roll up burritos in that. And it's pretty good. Who else? What's next? Everything I have read says soak due to pH. Okay. Yeah, that's what I've seen. Lots of people like soaking it. I think I'll try to recall, but like I said, that I stopped using all of that stuff it's been about 7 or 8 years now. But I do recall the soaking it. I can't remember what we used to soak it. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was like a little lemon juice, or if you do have the pH up or pH down in that. But some people that don't do a whole lot of hydroponics, they don't want to pay for that. They use a little baking soda or lemon juice, and they say, oh, you can't use that, but I grew a lot of stuff with it. Hello, Cyril, from the Philippines. One of your avid followers, keep on creativity to change the world. Well, thank you, Alan. Really appreciate that. And hello, any suggestions on root rot? No, you just have to me, you got to keep it cool. Like here right now we're in 85. I think 84 was the high today, and this is just spring. When we get into summer, and some of you people out west, I mean, you're over 100 degrees, so I don't know if this really works for you unless you have like a huge container. So just like I'm saying, this is a 3x4, the bigger downspout, and I started with the 2x3, and it's real thin, but it was like half the price. So like I said, I was experimenting with stuff, so I didn't want to go out and buy the most expensive thing. So I got the smaller one, and it worked, and it grew the baby greens really quick. But that little bit of water that's in there would warm up really fast if you have it sitting in the direct sun. And when the water went down a little too, it'd also flip over. But you got to keep that water just cool. Like I said, most of my plants, I try to situate it so I get a lot of morning sun right when the sun's coming up, and then later in the day to get shade anywhere from like 10 or 11 o'clock, maybe 11 or 12 on. I try to keep it in the shade most of the time, because otherwise here in Florida it'll just cook everything. And the other things, I mean, I don't mess around with much. I'll try and show you guys. There's this one I had, just like this one up here, I had that full of curly kale, and it was from around Christmas. And my wife's been going out there, their baby greens, and picking off of it. And I wanted to let everyone see how long you can let it go, because like I keep saying, yeah, I'm on the road, but like nobody really knows how long. So this one fell over into the ground. One, I don't know if a cat got on our table and knocked it over or what, because it was so big. And it fell in the yard, and our dogs go out back. I know it's kind of disgusting, but there's no telling, that I don't like to grow anything. I don't want to take any chances that, something might have been on it. So I figured I'd take that and fill it up 3/4 of the way and let it sit and not fill it up anymore. Just let it keep going down. Don't pay attention to anything. And I was filming it every day, so I'll show you all that too. But that went about a week before it finally dried up. You know, it's a full-grown kale plant. And when I took the kale plant out of it, there's no algae in it at all, because these things are a lot thicker than the thinner ones. And it's been keeping cool. The roots were still white, you know, so I know there's a lot of things that can cause root rot, but I think that heat is really like one of the main causes. Getting your nutrients and everything getting off, you know, that can do it too. But I think one of the main things is just heat, because it's a stagnant system, you know, the water's not moving anywhere. Soak mine in tap water, basically neutral. Okay, so hydroponics, y'all check out his channel too. He's giving her little tips on the soaking the rock wool. Like I said, you'll have to go to someone else. I haven't used rock wool in like 7 or 8 years. So rock wool can be planted too. Oh yeah, that's what the rock wool is for. It's so that you can start your seeds in it. You push it down inside of it and you grow your plants, and the roots go through the rock wool. And that's why I don't like using it, is because it was so expensive that the roots would go through it, and you grow your plant and then you throw it in the garbage because it won't compost, you know, sit there for years and years. It's spun rock. So you'd use it, and there's no way to get the roots out and really use it again. So it's just like a disposable product. And I just didn't like, you know, using something that I got one use out of it and I threw it away. Amanda, yeah, I have to put it right in a small pot. Yeah, so he's telling her, yeah, so y'all, thanks for helping each other out there. Let's see, what's George got to say? What size cup should I use for green peppers and tomatoes? I've seen the special bucket covers. Looks like 6-inch built into the lid. Yeah, either one, George. It's you're right. That is a 6-inch, and the 2 that I planted a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I use those. They work well, but there's so much space that I have to put. That's what I put a bunch of hydrants in, because there's no way you can get like pool noodles, anything around there. But I have grown tomatoes in like a 16-gallon tote and put 3-inch holes in it, and used the large pool noodle and just held it in place and grew those. You know, I think I grew a bunch of cherry tomatoes or something like that. But a 3-inch cup works fine. A 2-inch might too, you know, because if you're using a pool noodle and you're not using anything else around it, that pool noodle will expand as it grows. And I don't think there's a whole lot of tomato plants out there that will get a 2-inch diameter stalk on them. But 3-inch works good for me for those. Let's see, White, you're welcome. Cool, appreciate you helping. And I got to get your name, Hydroponic Gardening. Once you put your name in there, and it'll probably take me a couple of weeks to remember it, but we all have our screen names and everything on here, so it's kind of hard to call everybody by their names. I've been following you for some time, and I get other things I started, never finished, completed. Once that is done, I will give it a try. Cool. Yeah, it's fun, and start small. I mean, if you can't, you know, go get one downspout and cut it up, that's 10 feet. You cut up in 30 inches. You can get 4 out of each one. You know, that's a good start. And if not, just get a couple of little small containers. You know, like we had this one. You all saw that last week. You know, just a couple of small containers, and give it a try. Or your milk jugs, if you're going to throw your milk jugs out. I think Tad is right there, says pool noodles work great. He's down in giving that a try. He's got a little area around just a screened-in porch, and he's got a whole lot of stuff growing. But some of it's in recycled containers that we were throwing into recycling. You can start that way, because I think I've got a video that says 5 things you need to start hydroponics. And if you get some hydroponic nutrients, which I think you can get on Amazon for like $20, and that makes about 450 gallons, I think 405, 450 gallons. And if you get some containers that can be all your food grade containers that you're throwing out, like your milk jugs, and a pool noodle for $1, I mean, you can give this a try, you know. So, you know, and that's the best way to start. Because like I said, when I first started hydroponics, you know, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this and this. I started making a list of all the things I needed, and then driving somewhere and going in a hydroponic shop and being blown away at the price of everything. And now we've got people who are saying that, you know, they're going back to countries that are like poor, that are having hard times, and that they're using this stuff like what Dr. Kratky was teaching, and using recycled materials or things they have on hand to grow food. And, you know, that's just fantastic. So yeah, give it a try, and you don't have to go out there and spend a lot of money to try it. And it's like really carefree. Some of these things that I put out there too, I fill them up like this, the one that's got about 10 spots in it. I'll fill that up. And if there's small microgreens, like I've got some growing right now, amaranth and pak choy, when I put those in that small, honestly, it goes for about 4 weeks before I even have to think about looking at the water. And even then, it's not even halfway down or anything. So, you know, it's a really carefree system for people who are just trying to get into it. I've been growing my tomatoes in 3-inch net cups. Yeah, there you go, hydroponic. That's what I said. The 3-inch ones work good for like tomatoes and peppers. Facebook name of group, please. It's Keep On Growing. If you look on, I don't know if I can type in the chat here. That's for, I'll put it, I think I had it in the description. If you come back later and look in the description, I think I put my Facebook group. It's Keep On Growing, and no G at the end of growing. You know, I think somebody else, Keep On Growing with a G, everybody had for like nursery and daycare stuff. And I put it without the G, and that's why y'all see Keep On Growing and there's no G. And that's the reason, it's because it kept getting associated with nurseries, and they thought that I had like kids stuff. But that's the name you can find. If not, come back here or to last week's live stream, and I think I put it down in the description. Let's see. Am I getting way behind on the chat here? Love your videos. Do you ever have problems with mosquitoes with the Kratky system? Yes, you can. Fortunately, where I'm at in Florida, we've got a bad mosquito problem, and they spray a lot. They'll ride down, you know, the river, and right around at night, you'll hear the what you call it's, you know, going by sometimes, or you'll see them out like at midnight driving around. And I don't have too much of a problem, but if there's standing water, you do. That's why some of these things, let me know if I kind of disappear on you. I like to leave this little end open here, because then you never actually fill it all the way back up. When you go to fill this up, water starts leaking out there. So it leaves a little space here so you don't like drown your roots. But if you need to, if you remember not to fill it up all the way and you're like real diligent about that, you can just run a little bit of silicone around there, seal that up. This one's fake, so don't worry, I'm not going to dump water out. My wife had it up there for decoration. And if you see how the pool noodles kind of seal on almost everything up, that's a little better than if you have like a net cup and just a piece of rock wool dropped in it. You know, mosquitoes can get around there. Or if you have hydroton, you know, they can crawl down in it. I don't have a whole lot of problem with it. I'm going to try this year. I saw some little organic pucks that were supposed to take care of mosquitoes, and it was supposed to work inside of ponds that have, someone help me out here, koi ponds. And I was thinking if it worked with that and it's organic, it should be all right for the plant. So I might try that in one. One thing, if you guys have been following me for like 2 years, the NFT system, the one that you see us that's like chest high and has all the kale and collards and that growing on it, I used to have that in a big horse trough that was 100 gallons. And I like using that because I could fill it up and it'd be like, you know, 4 or 5 months before I have to like refill it or anything. But there was no cover to it. So I just threw a plastic cover on it and the mosquitoes could get in there. So that became a problem. And right now I've got it in another 16-gallon tote that I have a top that I can close on it. And ever since then, I don't have a problem. Let's see. I have a container ready to harvest radish microgreens. Radishes are cool. When I seeded, container sprinkled some Conzim powder on the seeds, pressing them down. Second grow. Oh, you got a second grow? That's cool. Like I said, if you can go in our group and kind of show some pictures and share that with people, that's cool, because people are always asking me that. And I always I like harvest them. Sometimes I just harvest what I need. If I'm going to have a salad, I'll just get a little bunch and take those, and I'll leave the rest growing. And because if they turn into microgreens and then they turn into baby greens, I can just pop those out and toss them into the downspouts. and keep them growing. But people have asked me if you harvest it, if you leave it where you get a second one. And most of the time you won't, because the seed, I think it's cotyledon or whatever, that's where all the energy comes from the plant to first start growing. And then the first true leaves is when it starts to photosynthesize. And if that first true leaf starts to come out is just when it's just about getting ready, and then you cut it down, there's really nothing as far as energy or anything that it's able to photosynthesize with. So usually they don't grow back unless they've already started to have little offshoots of stems that we're fixing to start, or if it germinated at different rates, and like the ones that got tall and these didn't germinate yet, and you came back and cut those off, that these smaller ones that took longer to germinate, maybe those that pop up. But this last week, what my wife did was I harvested pea shoots and sunflower sprouts, and there were some small ones, and she didn't want to just get rid of it, and she took the mat of roots with some of those in it and stuck it in her garden. So we'll see if those grow. But microgreen sprouts are awesome. I don't know if you guys in the chat, anybody tried microgreen, tried radishes? That's what it is. A nice, real spicy. I don't like that. You're not going to eat just a handful of radish microgreens. Some people might, but I like to just sprinkle it on my sandwich or salad or something. It just gives a little bit of a spiciness without like a radish where you bite it and there's that real like in your face kind of heat. Some people like that. But the microgreen radishes give you a little bit of spiciness, but it's not like overpowering. Let's see. Did you notice any stunting using the 3-inch cup? No, I didn't. They're both like about the same. Like I said, if you're using it, sometimes what I do is the 3-inch cups, they're not that expensive. The 6-inch, the lids that go on a 5-gallon pail, those are kind of expensive. They're like anywhere from $5 to $10 or something. But like the little 3-inch cups are like less than $1. If it looks like the plant needs more room to grow, and that sometimes I'll even cut the bottom off of those once it's gotten big enough and it can hold itself in that cup and give it room to grow. And sometimes you maybe even pop some of the, I don't know if you're using hydroton or pool noodle or whatever you're doing. If it needs more room, you can just cut it a little and give it room to kind of expand. But like I said, 3 inches, in diameter, that's pretty big. If you have only one tomato plant in there, I can see if you have 3 or 4, it gets kind of crowded. But I don't think there'd be a problem with it with a 3-inch cup. And the reason why I was using those lids with that was to show people, that something simple they could just go buy, and it's, you buy that and you can just put on a 5-gallon bucket, you're ready to go. Whereas like you get the cups, if you're going to use a bucket, you got to get the lid and cut the right size hole. And sometimes if it says a 3-inch hole, a 3-inch net cup, they'll cut a 3-inch hole and then they'll fall right through and not know that you have to cut it a little bit smaller for that lid. So I showed those because I had those from maybe 5 years ago, and they're real easy for like beginners to use. They grow good together synergistically. Okay, the tomato and the basil. Cool, that's good to know. Now, one thing though, with me, the tomatoes, once they get to maturity, they drink a lot of water. So if you're doing this, like me being on the road and not wanting to have to take care of them all the time, tomatoes, when they reach maturity, even with this system, I could be on the road for a couple of days and they could run out of nutrients. It depends on how big they are. Now, if you've got an NFT system and you've got a huge reservoir somewhere that's pumping it to it, or a drip system, that works well. So sometimes a Kratky system, that's why you see me growing a lot of leafy greens, that's what works best with it. Have you tried to grow okra? No, I haven't tried yet, but I don't know if everybody's seen like the videos and what I was growing last year. The water spinach, that was just blew my mind how easy that grew, and you could eat it, and it was like a good replacement for it. But then I found out it's a controlled weed, it's a noxious weed, and we're not allowed to have it. We're not even allowed to have the seed transported or anything over here. So Marty from Marty's Garden was letting me know that another alternative was Egyptian spinach. I've never had that, so I'm trying to find that, and I'm going to try some of that this year in this system. and it's supposed to like the wetter conditions. And I think they said it's in the okra family. So I haven't, you know, I won't be growing it for the okra, the pods. My wife loves okra. I can take it or leave it. But I think okra, you've got to grow a fairly decent sized plant to get any okra on it. And you're going to need a really big tote. It won't be something you'll be able to grow into something like that, I don't think. But if you guys, like I said, all of this stuff is just experimenting and trying and sharing with other people. So, you know, give it a try. And if you can do it, you know, more power to you, and share it with us, and maybe I'll give it a try too. Tomato and basil are companions. Okay, cool. I didn't know that. I know there's some other companion plants and stuff, and I didn't know that those two did well together. I know like beans and that, like put nitrogen back into the soil. And no, I grew a cherry tomato in a 2-gallon bucket and I had to stop it at 4 feet because it didn't have room. I have big beef growing in a 27-gallon. Wow, a 27-gallon, like a small garbage can or something. I'm trying to think, the tote that I had was about 16 gallons, so that about twice as big as that. Stop it at 4 feet tall. It didn't have the room. So it didn't have the room as far as it was getting too bushy, or the root system was too big for the 5-gallon bucket, or was it that I think George was asking about the net cup and the opening on that. But y'all too kind of talk back and forth there. George, he says he had experience with tomatoes. Here's a question. Can you use EM1 Labs FAA as in Korea permaculture practices in Hyro? I have no idea. Like I said, I'm not, are you talking about, is that another nutrient? Because it's me, when I started nutrients, I went into the hydro shop. I think they have like Fox Farm and different floral series, a couple of different ones. And like I said, I tried them and they were too expensive for me. Like I said, back then I was trying to make ends meet. And I was looking around and somebody mentioned the master blend and it being cheap for the money. And like I said, that little 1 pound, it's got 1 pound, 1 pound and a half pound. So 2.5 pound container that has all three of the Epsom salt, calcium nitrate in that makes about 400 gallons of nutrients. I went and bought, once I knew it was working, I went and bought a 25 pound bag, and I've been using it for about 5 years. So I've never tried anything else except for general hydroponics, the one that comes in a green bag. I tried that once and it didn't do as well. Maybe it was me. I might try it again. But when I experiment and then I find something that works really good, I'm kind of, stuck at using that. And then I'll experiment a little here and there. But when something works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I've been using Master Blend all this time, and I've gotten used to mixing it and using it, and it just works really well. So I don't know if you can ask me again down in the comments as I scroll down if you're talking about nutrients, or if I'm just off on a tangent. Are you trimming the beefsteak? Let's see. Are you talking to someone else or to me? I'm growing Roma tomatoes, and I'm gonna have to trim it. If you're talking about the last video I had out, I just haven't got around to it, and that thing just went wild. It just, both of them got like really big. I am gonna have to trim that up. Ooh, excuse me. Hello, Crystal Reaver. Smiley face. Hello, how are you? Thank you for coming down. pH down to raise acidity. I use lemon juice. Yeah, that's what lots of us had. And if you guys start that, if you get into hydroponics and they say you need to go get pH up and pH down, if you build you a big system, like a big NFT system, and you have a huge reservoir and you've got a lot of money going into it, you might want to go ahead and get the pH down and pH up and a meter. If you just got a little teeny thing like this going on, you don't want to spend all that money. A little bit of lemon juice and a little bit of baking soda raises, just like hydroponic gardening saying here, and people have done that for years. Hydroponics has been around for thousands of years, and they didn't have all of these chemicals in that forever. So some people have used different things like that in the past. That's what I did to get started. And then once you get your foot in the door and you want it up, then you can get all that other stuff. But I just use that to start. I tried garlic and Kratky cord. 8 inches of growth in 1 week. Andrew, that's cool. Like I said, you guys join our Facebook group. Stick your pictures in there. I want to see all of this stuff because that's pretty neat. I put green onions, and I know those are really easy to grow, but when you buy them at the store, you always go to get them, and they're like 3 for $1 or something, and then you always end up getting more than you need. So we cut them and we stick them in the little Kratky system, but you got to be careful with that because you just want the roots in the water. And if you have it out in the rain and the rain goes up and it gets onto the bulb, it'll rot it out. So it kind of a little tough, a little more fussy, even though they're really easy to grow. But those you can just stick in your garden and they'll grow. But garlic's about the same way too. If you have it in the Kratky, if you can watch it, or you're growing it indoors, you don't have to worry about the rain, and you can keep an eye on that nutrient level, that'd be pretty cool. I'd like to see that. Also, the garlic, don't you eat you can eat the plant, the stems in that are coming up. I think we used to cut them when they were like huge. When we had a traditional garden, we'd cut them and throw them on the grill and then cook on top of them. Let's see, did you start from seed or buy a plant at the box store? Hydroponic gardening. Okay, so you guys are talking to each other. That's cool. Brothers, thanks, I'm in Miami. Cool. I grew up in Miami. If you know where Opelika is, it wasn't really Miami. It's just south of that, I think, and close to where the Dolphins used to play before they built Joe Robbie Stadium or whatever that is. There was a little high school called Pace High or something, and I went there for like a year, but they used to practice right there. But that was years ago. That was over 30 years ago. Let's see, trimming extra leaves, but I'm letting it continue to grow 3-4 feet. Cool, he's talking about his beefsteaks. Awesome. Will you grow cantaloupe? Yeah, I can give it a try. I'm trying a couple different things. Like I said, things I usually don't do. I'm going to give it a try, and if I end up on the road and something dies, it'll be cool. We'll just do an experiment. But my wife would love to have cantaloupe. I think we got some zucchini and squash. We're going to give that a try, and we did get a watermelon. People keep asking me about watermelon and strawberries. I keep getting messages about that. So people love watermelon, love strawberries. If I go on strawberry plant, 1, 2, 3, I think about 4 plants going right now. And we had a couple handfuls of strawberries, nothing, to write home about, but, it was cool. We could grow some. So we got watermelon, but I didn't get the huge, I forgot what it was called. Is it the small, round, sweet ones? We're going to give that a try. We'll see how it goes. McClure off from the seed. Yep, growing from seed. And right now, if you haven't bought your plants already and have your garden done here in Florida, all you can get is peppers and tomatoes at the store. And not long from now, it'll be all gone. You won't have any veggies you can go buy. You'll have to grow everything from seed yourself. That's why I like this system, is that with the microgreens, we'll grow like the amaranth. It's red. It looks really cool using it and sprinkling it, and it's healthy for you. But I'll let those go after we cut them a little and we use some of the microgreens. I'll take some of those plants, and it doesn't take much. You've got like literally hundreds, maybe 1,000 little plants in the microgreens. So you eat what you want. You can take 20 or 30 of those out and plant them out and grow them to leaves, and the amaranth will grow. If you plant it in the ground in traditional garden, it'll get, like 6 feet high. I grow them about 2 feet because they get too high, and then you let the water level go less than halfway down, and the wind blows. If it's too high, it's going to flop over, so you have to strap everything down. But all of those work really well in there. And I got the pak choy going again. I don't know if everyone get tired of seeing me growing pak choy, but we eat a lot of it, and it grows really well during the summer when we can't grow lettuce and other leafy greens. So I'm fixing to plant a bunch more pak choy. I got the microgreens going right now. I have 20-gallon reservoir that I keep between 65 and 70, making me nuts. Yeah, is that because is it getting warm down there too, and it's hard to keep it down? If it's, like I said, our high was 84 degrees Fahrenheit. You can do 2 things, especially if you leave it black, it's going to absorb the heat. and you know you want it dark to keep algae from growing, you can either cover it, paint it white. You can go get that reflective material. If you all saw my last video, you saw the little shelf I got set up in the kitchen. That's the insulation that they have that's made out of that reflective, kind of like the stuff you put on your sun visor for your car. You can take that and wrap it around it, and it'll reflect some of the heat. Another thing is, you know, maybe even sheets of styrofoam, you know, lay that on it and stick them together. You can take styrofoam and cut it into squares or rectangles and get kitchen skewers and jab it into and hold them together just to kind of keep that, you know, a little bit of the sun off of it. And if you can, any way you can shade the reservoir. What we're going to try and do this time, we grew, if you watch a couple videos back, I know I keep saying that, but we grew the 3 heads of lettuce and we had some arugula growing. That grew well during the fall, but we're thinking it's a shallow. It's about 8 inches deep, 6 to 8 inches. We're just going to dig a hole in the ground and kind of set it down in there a little. And then the ground will kind of insulate it a little and see if that keeps the temperature down. But that's the only thing with this Kratky system is that's one of the things that you have to worry about with the heat that we have during the summer. But if you're growing indoors, like hydroponic garden, if you're growing indoors, the Kratky stuff works really well. You just need lighting in that. Kratky method, no air, just water and nutrients. I love it. It's awesome. What's your Facebook page so I can send some pictures? Keep on growing. No G. Keep on growing. And if you do search on Facebook under the filters, click on groups, because I think when the filters come up, it'll have name, a person, and people and places and all of that. You got to go to the little tab that says groups, and then my group will come up there. And just ask to join, and my wife will let you in. Usually when I'm done with the live stream, I'll go in there and start approving people. And usually I've seen them in the live stream, so I just go through and just start letting people in. I just don't have it just open to the public because Facebook, you know, things just tend to get a little crazy sometimes. And if you can't find it, come back later and then I'll put it in the description below this. Or I'll put it, I think last week's one I did put it in there too. You trimming the suckers. Also, as the vine gets taller, longer, you can wrap it around the base. Yeah, that's right. And that's something, I mean, we all get tickled about too, is you get a plant. Right now we got that one video I had a couple of weeks, or about a month and a half ago, and had the 2 tomatoes we planted in the 2 5-gallon buckets. When we took it out of there and pulled it apart and set them into those 2 buckets, they had a bunch of small suckers on the bottom that were already starting to root. And we put those in a Kratky system, and those guys are about that big already. And those were, you know, the little suckers we had pulled off, and those are already starting to flower. And I think I've got a couple tomatoes on that too. So off of this one plant that we bought from the store, I think it was like $10 or something. It's like a 6-inch pot or 8-inch pot. We got 2 big plants for the 5-gallon buckets, and I got 1, 2, 3, and there's one smaller plant that was taking a little time to grow because the other guys, I guess, they grew fast and blocked out the sun and ate up the nutrients. So I took them out. They're in the NFT system, and then I've got 1 more small plant. So there's like 4, 5, 6 plants just from that one little container. And from there, now I have to go trim this one and cut all the suckers off of that. And this is just the beginning of the season, so I can take those, put those in, and get those coming behind of it too. Maybe get a couple more plants. I'm having some issues. Let's see, either fungus gnats or fruit flies laying eggs in the wicking mat and hatching maggots. Oh, that sounds bad. What can I do? I've tried Brent spray. I'm in the Caribbean, so humid and buggy. Wow, I don't know. Then in the Caribbean, one thing, I don't know if you have it. I tried this and I haven't made a video yet, but you guys, since you're joining me in the live stream, you're kind of see. I've seen a lot of people like Pepe Fassos and a lot of microgreen growers, when they plant their seeds out, they sprinkle a little fine vermiculite, and it's real fine. It's like dust. It's not like the big chunky white stuff, perlite or vermiculite. It's a fine grade that you add into the sand. And I took that on this one. I planted out seeds because with this grow mat, like you said, it stays damp all the time. So inside my little shelf in the kitchen, I've got a fan blowing across it. But I took this fine vermiculite after I put my seeds on. Usually I would just put them on the mat, and spray them a little, cover them, and they grow. But if you're having problems with it, what I did was sprinkle a little of that on it, and that kind of gives a layer that covers up that mat. And with the fan blowing, it kind of dries off that very top layer, and then the mat underneath of it stays damp. And I don't think I've had any issues with mold or anything. This is just my first grow, but I'll make a video about that in the next couple of weeks and show you what I did with that. And if that works well, I might start doing that. I did like 6, 8, 9. I did about 10 containers, those little green containers. And it was just a handful of the stuff. So, even if you get a bag of it, it's like $5 or $6. It goes a long way. Let's see. Haven't taken off suckers yet, but they're coming. All right. I hope I'm keeping up here. I can't tell how far down this goes, how far I'm behind. It's better to produce with the suckers trimmed off also. Yeah. I mean, you need to cut those suckers off from that. Like I said, whether you're using them or not, for to grow another plant, you still need to go through and cut it, because sooner or later you want all the energy and that going into producing the fruit and ripening up the fruit, and not into a bunch of foliage. Because like right now, mine look like really big and huge and they look nice, but the tomatoes, all the energy is going into making this big bushy plant. So if you can trim it down and put some more of that energy back into the tomato itself, that's why it's best to trim. Peppers too. Peppers are the same way. What can you do about slugs? I have a solitary bee. They're cute, and they leave my pepper plant looking like cheese. Should I leave them alone? Yeah, I don't know what you would do about it. I don't use any type of pesticide or anything. It's almost everything that we're growing out there, with the exception of the newer stuff, because people keep having questions and are asking for it, is like leafy greens. And you are going to get a little bit of slugs or gnat. Last year I got some locusts, this big like yellow and black locusts. Once in a while I'd walk out there and there'd be one. And if I'm gone for a couple of days, I mean, they can eat like a whole chard plant or something. But I try to grow a little bit, what we need and then what the bugs can eat. One thing I've done with pests that some other people have done in the past that I've seen them do is to grow sacrificial plants. And that's just growing more than you need and growing enough for the bugs, and then spreading it out a little farther too. I'll go out, like when I had my porch, I'd grow extra beans or tomatoes or whatever I was growing that would get like leaf miners and tomato hornworms. And I'd plant those a little farther out in the hopes that, like, when the bugs were heading your way towards your porch, they'd see those plants first and they'd hop on those. And then whatever residual, came over to your good plants, at least part of it, a good percentage of it was on those plants that you didn't really care about. The problem is those sacrificial plants would be growing just as good as the other ones, and they'd be getting eaten up too. And even though you grew them as part of the pest management, you still get kind of attached to them, and you see, tomatoes growing on it too, and you want to get out there, but bugs got to eat too. So unless you're going to spray, that's one thing that we've done over the years, is just to grow sacrificial plants and plant them farther out from the garden. Let's see, I decided I have to leave them trimmed. Okay, so they're still talking about, if y'all wondering about growing inside and tomatoes and that, hydroponic gardening, and George are talking about that. Hi all, Becky. Hey, how are you? I see you all over the place now. Glad you stopped by. Appreciate it. Thomas, smiley face. Thank you, Thomas. Let's see, ATOC. I started with recycled containers. I must be way behind in the chat. I'm sorry, guys. It just I'll get talking to one thing and then I'll get to just running my mouth for a long time. Have a little patience with me. I now have three cut up downspouts mounted out along the pool side. I bought things as I could afford. Yeah, exactly. That's what Tad did. Like I said, you start with what you got. Start learning, because there's a little bit of a learning curve. What's that thing? Sits on the table. Miracle Grow, Arrow Garden. There's commercials and they're always selling those things. So they're going to want to make it look easy. Like you just plug it in and throw the pods in and all of a sudden you've got a salad. There's always a little bit of a learning curve, and some things are easy. And as easy as I say my stuff is, there's a little bit of a learning curve. You still have to need to know how to use it and put it together. So if you can, just go ahead and use your recycled materials and a little cheap pool noodle and get a couple of nutrients, you can learn how to start hydroponics and not be a lot of money out of your pocket to start with. I haven't really spent all that much in hydroponics other than seeds yet. Over 6 months, less than 100. See, that's awesome. If you can get started. If I walk into a hydroponic shop back when I started and said, I want to start hydroponics and I want to grow all this food, all that stuff you see me out there growing, and I said I need to spend less than $100, they would laugh at you and probably tell you to get out of the store. A lot better than starting from seed. Yep, but I got to start from seed. Like I said, if I don't, all I can grow is peppers and tomatoes now. All the leafy greens and chard and everything's gone. Better quick too. Let's see. I wish your group was on something other than Facebook. Okay, you don't use Facebook. I mean, we can share on other stuff. If you guys, my name's Mike Banduzzi on everything. I'm on Instagram. If you guys want to get over there, I think we can comment back and forth. Or like if I have a picture, people comment back and forth on it, and they have a direct message. So if you follow me on Instagram, if you got questions, you can go ahead and just message me on there. And I don't have a lot like here on YouTube. If it's kind of hard to keep going back to a video, especially when like the last live stream, you got 200 comments and try to find comments that people are replying back to. You'll have a lot of notifications. And it's kind of hard to keep up with it. But on Instagram, they have a direct message system, and it's kind of like emailing or texting back and forth. If you go follow me on Instagram or Twitter as another direct message, then we can just chat back and forth that way. And if I have one of these, I can go ahead and get your, what do you call it, give you a link. And if anybody wants to join me in here, we can do a little split screen. And if you're following me on Twitter or Instagram, I can just send you that link before the show. You can join the show and we can just talk with everybody. This is Rich in Texas. Hello, Rich. The Dollar Tree containers are great for microgreens and starting plants to go in the downspouts. We're doing 3 downspouts cut down. Awesome, Texas T. The question I have, our bok choy doesn't grow like yours. Ours are kind of the stalks with leaves. What seeds do I need to look for? Okay, the bok choy that I used, and I hope I'm saying this right, because we grow something else called Shiro. I'll look this up and I'll try and put it on. I think the variety was called Shiro, like Shiro, and that actually grows like what you see me grow. And I like that because it'll grow a nice round leaf and a nice white stalk that you pull it off and that stalk's crunchy. And that's why we love the bok choy, because if you buy bok choy in a store, sometimes you notice like bok choy, even the little bok choy, the leaves are all wilted already. And some of the inner stems are crunchy, but this, when you grow your own, you don't have anything go to waste like that. You're pulling off all the ends, or you're chopping it up, it's all wilted already. The leaves are nice and crunchy. You cut it up. I don't even cook it or anything. I have hot soup, like boiling water, and you put the noodles in, and then you take your bok choy and just chop it up a little, rinse it off, chop it up, and just drop it right on it. And it'll wilt in there, but it'll still be crispy, and it's just awesome. And it's nothing like the stuff you get in the store. But if I'm not mistaken, it's called Shiro, Shiro is the name of it. Oh, hey Keely, that's my wife. How far behind the chat am I? Hello, George, Becky, hi, Keely. Cool, everybody's having fun. Cool, I like to see that, then I can get caught up. Hey, Miss Banduzzi. I remember that I think it was you. We were talking about the level maintainer. Yeah, I don't know if you're talking to me, Thomas, or talking to someone else, but I did have that's a good idea. If you guys went and looked at Dr. Kratky, the guy who came up with the system, he's actually made one out of Tupperware, a small Tupperware you turn upside down, and it acts like a little float. And he took a little block of wood and stuck a piece of like like rubber from a cut up tire or something that acts like a little block, and puts that in it with the drip irrigation. And when your level's up against it, it holds up against that tube with, and then when the level drops and that block drops, it opens up, and with gravity fed, it drops some more nutrient solution back in it. So it's like a little off-grid kind of float, and he's made it out of Tupperware. That's pretty cool. If you go to Decline Approaches on YouTube and look that up, I know I've got him in last week's or this week's that's the guy who started with all of this. So all the people I tell you about, even if you don't go look at all of them, go check out Dr. Kratky stuff, because none of this stuff that I do would be possible without learning the stuff that, he's the one that started it. But that float, they've got floats that you can use. I've even seen people use a float valve from a toilet, not used out of your toilet, but at the hardware store, it's just a little float valve, and you can hook them up. There's all different ways you can do it. There's ones you use in the horse troughs for livestock that keeps it filled up. You can keep your nutrients filled up that way. And then there's just a little tiny float valve it's about that big and white. I'll have it the next one. I got one sitting around here, and I keep saying I'm going to put one in, but I never end up doing it because everything just works, so well that I don't really need it. But it would be pretty cool to put one in next to one that 3 or 4 weeks later I have to fill it up, and then this one just constantly stays at a right level. But I know I'm rambling on, but if you keep that, I think Matt Garber had his hooked up to a reservoir, gravity fed, and it had nutrient solution in it. Then you can do it and not worry about it, and nutrients keep getting fed in. If you hook it up to irrigation from your hose, then as the water drops, it'll keep the water level up, but then it'll dilute your nutrients. So you won't be able to keep it there constantly. You're still gonna have to add some more nutrients. And let's see, hello. I just joined. All right, Hubert, appreciate it. Just joined, sent pictures. Sorry, did you say anything about Korean permaculture and hydro? Was joining your Facebook page? No, I didn't. I really don't know what you're talking about as far as that. I know that when I look up hydro, people all over the world are doing it. Like I said, like in America here, some people do it as a hobby. A lot of people do it as a hobby, and some people do it because they're wanting to supplement or grow their own food. But in some other parts of the world, like India and Pakistan, are really getting into it. If you guys start going and searching and looking, you're going to see some fantastic stuff. And I might come on, and maybe one night we'll just do stuff that we see in other parts of the world, because here in America, commercial hydroponics is all computerized, and it's in big greenhouses, and everything's all automated. But they're doing off-grid stuff like here, and it's because they don't have their expendable cash, but they're trying to feed a lot of people, and they're using some of these methods, and it looks cool. Taking something like what we're doing and doing it on a big scale is just fantastic. But someone else will talk about, I don't know if Keely, I had sent her the links before, but if you guys look up Fenster Farms, I think it's Fenster Farm Greenhouse. He uses these. I didn't even know it. I was doing this, and they're running a small commercial farm, and instead of buying all the NFT channels, they were using these, and he was bending them and heating them the same way I was too. But if you want to see this on a big scale, they've got a huge greenhouse and just hundreds of these lined up. It's just really, really cool. The other one is Spring Hill Farms, but I think they actually use the we're going to open up and show y'all the food grade, the NFT channel. They actually use those, but that's someone up in Canada, and they're running a small scale farm too, hydroponics. So you can see this stuff with hundreds of them, and just lettuce as far as you can see. And that's just really awesome. How's everyone using? I use pH. Let's see, the hydro guy. I just grow my channel. I use this to pH. Alrighty. Not sure if you all know Three Sisters Garden. Yeah, I've heard of that, George. Corn, squash, and some kind of climbing bean. Wonder if it would grow good in it. You might give it a try. I've often thought about that too, and I'm not sure if, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that came from maybe the Native Americans or something, and they were growing or somewhere. But different plants that grow good together, where one shades the other plant and one acts, as a trellis for the beans, and then the beans add nitrogen back in, whereas the other ones use nitrogen, but there's this little symbiotic kind of relationship, and only certain kinds of plants work with it. And like you said, it's corn, squash, and beans. If you can do that, like I said, I haven't grown corn. I've grown some squash. I'm giving squash a try again, and I've grown beans, but I haven't tried corn yet. 12, 15, 12, the magic number. Cool, Redman Paranormal. So that's the nutrients that you use. Check it out, Korean Natural Farming. Alrighty, we'll do that. Like I said, I've been looking all over the world, Asia, Pakistan, like I said, India is like really, really big right now, and there's lots of parts in Africa. Israel is getting really into it. And I've seen some, I think, Thailand and Korea, but I haven't like really dug into it, but I'll take a look at that. I love seeing all of that. Cool stream. Appreciate it, Redman. Appreciate you being here too. Everybody else, all right. Are you laughing at me? Congrats, this is the best stream and chat. Nice. Appreciate that, Hubert. Just trying my best. It's all because of you guys too. Like I said, it's a community thing, and I can't sit here and answer everybody. And like you guys, like George and that, you guys are helping each other out in the chat. That really helps too. Opelika used to look really cool. All right, that's Thomas. I told him I grew up down in Opelika. It did. That was years ago. There you go. Used to be the home of the Goodyear blunt. That's what when we were. I know this has nothing to do with gardening and that, but sometimes these things go off on a tangent. When I was a kid, I won't ramble on about it, but the Goodyear blimp that y'all see flying above, like a lot of them, they had like one main one down there in Florida, and that's where it would be parked. And when we're walking or going to school, we'd see it sitting out there, and it'd be flying over the stadiums during the games. But we actually got to go up. They'd have a little tour, and you could actually go up inside of the blimp, a couple people at a time in that. So I actually went on that when I was a kid. We didn't take a ride anywhere, but you got to go up in there and act like you're the little captain of it. You're making me hungry. Yeah, I'm hungry too. 4-inch square cattle livestock fencing is great for trellis. Yep, it is. If y'all need trellis, like I said, if you could set one of those up too, and put one of the big totes there, and try and grow it all up it, like George was talking about the Three Sisters, that might be cool. George says, I would love to try strawberries, but what do you do when winter comes? Bring them in, keep it going, usually plant hybrid. I don't know. It's because that's what I used to do back when we had a traditional garden too, is just, we were covered up with straw, and try to let them, come back. But I've got, that holds 5. I think there's an empty spot. I might have 4 or 5 right now. And I had a handful of strawberries, but when somebody asked me to do it, we were talking about the same thing, that, what am I going to do at the end of the season? If it does work out and I don't kill them in the meantime, that usually you overwinter them. And so I might have an extra something. Maybe I'll look for Brad, I might get one of his grow lights and bring it in and just overwinter it like that and see if it lasts. I don't know how long the roots will, last just being in pure nutrient solution, if it should be planted maybe to overwinter, but maybe we'll try 2 one way and 2 another way. Like I said, if I don't kill them in the meantime, but it's what do you call it? 31 watching, only 12 likes. That's all right. We're not here for the likes. I appreciate it though, Thomas. It's we're just here to have fun, learn from each other. Mike, thank you for always showing cheap and convenient way. That's what I'm all about. I look forward to using the pool noodles. My students grew your teacher, cool, grew microgreens and enjoyed them. Awesome. That's pretty cool. That's what I do about, like I say, the people, I don't care if, everybody likes it. I know with the YouTube algorithm, if I was just trying to grow a YouTube channel and try to drive traffic here, I'd be asking everybody, give it a thumbs up, do all the stuff you're supposed to do for YouTube. But this kind of stuff where like somebody says they take it and they're teaching kids, or somebody tells me that they're, going back to a country that they need to learn how to grow food, and they're using it, that's what makes all the difference. So like I said, I'm not ever worried about, people liking it or not. It's when I get comments like this or emails or direct messages, that makes my day. And that's the kind of stuff, like when I'm sitting on my porch with my wife, Keely, when we're 80 years old, we can look back and feel like you did something and shared something that kind of, helped somebody in the world, and not, we're not going to be sitting there going, you remember that time we got 300 likes on a video or something? We're going to be saying, the impact that you left on the world. So I know, getting a little philosophical and getting off the hydroponics, so I get off on a tangent sometimes. Let's see. I don't know how far behind I am. Thanks for checking my channel. Okay, cool. Y'all in there, like I said, y'all check each other out. Have fun. Did 2020 could be a good nutrient? I don't know. All I can say is, if you ever experiment, start with small containers, try it out. That's why I grow microgreens, is because there's literally like 1,000, there's hundreds to thousands of little tiny plants that if you have your little containers, you pull some out, give it a try, do 3 or 4 of them. And if it doesn't work, you haven't really lost anything. It's not like you went to the nursery and bought $30 or $40 worth of transplants and stuck them in and they didn't work. If you're going to try a different nutrient solution, do a couple of containers and do them at different levels and see what happens. And it's all about having fun and experimenting. To me, the master blend works. That formula, I'm not a scientist or a biologist or botanist or whatever you want to call them. And I just know what works and the ratio and what that is. So some people do ask me, well, if I do this with the nitrogen or this, you're going to have to look on other channels, because that's why I mainly grow leafy greens. I do a lot. We get what we need. And the things that are difficult to grow, then I go to the grocery store and get those. It would be nice to grow them, but I try not to, if I stress myself out too much, I'm not going to want to get out there and garden. If I do it just as a hobby and you enjoy it and you can try all these different things, that's cool. Maybe when I get off the road and I have time to do that, that'll be fun. But right now I'm just trying to maximize what I can do. And so I don't mess with, if there's a bunch of people who make a product and say, hey, this is the right formula, don't mess with that too much. I did it in one video just to show people, if you put too much, and I put like 2 or 3 times as much, and the plant died. It's just because they've done it years and years and different experiments over and over and over to come up with those. And that's what works. And I got too much other stuff to worry about than trying to mess around with the formulas. Thomas, let's see, I'm back. Redman, see, Keely, thank you for the post link. Cool, appreciate it. We will helping some people and dropping the links there. Like I said, I don't know how far behind I am. I know a little bit. And if I miss anything, if you guys see me coming through here and I didn't answer your question, just ask it again and I'll try to get to it. That's why it's so great to grow greens in the winter. No bigs, no bugs. Yeah, I think it's no bugs. Yeah, that's what it's just awesome. We grew, we were out in a rural area and the bugs were just terrible. Leaf miners, just everything. That's why I said we grew a lot. It's just that we grew a bunch of sacrificial plants because we knew there was if we were gone for 3 or 4 days, we'd come home to be caterpillars from moths. Excuse me. The tomato hornworms, they eat like half a plant in a day. There'd be so many, and when we moved here in the city, there's not a lot, and it's just like it's just like a huge relief. Anybody that's out there that's still dealing with like a lot of pests, I feel for you, because we went through it. You can ask my wife, like the leaf miners. My God, they were terrible. They were like getting in everything. Oh, one thing before I go on, and I probably get off on another tangent, but we did, when we're talking about not using pesticides and having sacrificial plants. If you haven't seen like some of my older videos, and some of them a little corny, I was having fun making them that, but you might not want to go back to see them. But a sacrificial plant, the leaf miners love the pak choy and your cabbages. and they're always getting on there. And you know, if you don't put, I think some people put what's that dust like DE, and there's another is it BT. They spread that on, but it doesn't immediately help because that's something that the leaf miners and that the fly has to ingest and die so he can actually lay the eggs and everything before. So sometimes it doesn't help. But one thing we did do was plant. I noticed when I planted beans, somebody asked, "Can you grow beans?" I said, "I don't know. We'll give it a try." We planted them. We had them on this one container. The leaf miners just loved it. It was a purple bean, I think. I don't know if it was Adzuki or something, but they were all over it, and they stayed off the pak choi. There was a couple here and there, but it wasn't like, you know, constantly having to pick leaves off the pak choi. So I grew the beans, and we did get some beans off of it, but I planted out more beans and then just let them grow. I put a little trellis up and let them grow on it, and had leaves everywhere. And I didn't really care if they flowered and had the pods. It was just the leaves that those leaf miners like. So we grew beans to keep the leaf miners off of all the pak choi. And that helped tremendously without having to sprinkle BT or dust all over your plants and having to try and wash them off. You know, if I get a problem with them over here, I've seen a couple out there right now. That's what I'll do is I'll grow some beans along a fence or something. I'll go plant them in the ground, just plant them out somewhere. Maybe, you know, they'll like that too. But that's just something you know, it's worked for me. Thanks, I will use that. Cool, no problem. George, they seem to like certain seeds more than others, and it's never winter here. Yeah, it's never. We got 2 days here. There was, you know, I'm not complaining because I've seen some people up there coming out and like snow was up over their car, and that's just crazy. I mean, you guys, I don't know how you deal with that, but so I'm not going to complain about the heat down here when, you know, we didn't have much of a winter, but we get to grow like almost all year long. Started our first Kratky lettuce. They're growing well. I'm still waiting on strawberries to come, doing hydroponics for them. Cool, awesome, Chris. Like I said, join a group, share some pictures. That'd be cool. Lettuce, like I said, one thing is that if you can walk outside your door and just get fresh lettuce and make a sandwich, that's cool. If you guys are like me, we go to the store and then you're so busy that you buy more than you need, and then it ends up in the back of the refrigerator, and then it ends up in the compost pile. And I felt like I was putting money in the compost pile. But here you can have heads of lettuce growing. Just pick the leaves that you need. The lettuce keeps growing, and then when it gets too big, you know, then you get rid of it. But just, you know, you don't have to wait till you get a full mature head and harvest it. I usually just get out there and just eat what I want at the same time. Had that problem, used concentrated lemon juice, the kind you drink diluted, and it stopped eating my plants. Oh, cool. Well, we'll give that a try. Thomas said he used concentrated lemon juice, diluted 50%. So if anybody wants to give that a try, I may even try that too. I wouldn't mind spraying a little lemon juice on my plants instead of pesticides. Who's that? Tiffany Allen, hi. Hello, how are you doing? Thank you for stopping in. Your own pace ain't that bad. Thanks, appreciate it. Like I said, hey, as this is only the second one. As we get going on down the road and I do get more of these under my belt, I'll get a little more, I'll get to the point a lot faster on the questions and be able to move through them a lot quicker. But I tend to ramble on right now because I just enjoy talking about it. George, it's not letting the link posted. I'll let Mike know. Okay. Oh yeah, you got to be a moderator. I got to let Keely be. George, I didn't make you a moderator. When I get done with this stream, I'll get your name and I'll put you in as a mod. I think I did a couple of the gardeners I know, like Pepe and Marty and all of them, so they could come in and drop their link. But on YouTube, if you're not a moderator, you can't put a link in the chat. But since I know you and I see you all, you know, you're not just going to be dropping links for anywhere. After this, I'll make you a moderator, and then you can drop the links. If everybody didn't mind waiting, I'm afraid that if I leave this and go over and start messing around with stuff, I'll lose. You know, I'm not real good at streaming. I'm just starting at this, so I don't want to go over there and try and do that. And then everybody's gone. They're like, hey, where'd he go? But I'll make you a mod so you can drop some links in here. Let's see. Andrew. Okay, so y'all are talking amongst each other that worked in the dish under my containers, salty water. Cool. Sounds good. Did it brown the leaves? That's what I was wondering, or mess with the pH in the water. I don't know if he's talking about if he sprayed it all over the place, or did you just spray the leaves? You water it down and spray the leaves, or you put it in the water, or what did you do? Okay, Keely. Let's see. Did you just spray the lemon juice? Oh, on the wicking mat. Okay, so you all were talking about when I think the one who said that had a little, Rebecca had a problem with gnats or maggots or something, or with the mat being too wet or damp all the time. It's good, compact variety. Awesome. You guys just talking amongst yourselves. Like I said, if I missed something, can't sell live micros with maggots. Yep, that's the truth. So you got to take care of that. Like I said, Rebecca, check out Pepe Fassos. His link's down below, and he's growing them. And he uses a little soil. He actually mixes his own, and he puts a little bit of the granules, the water, those things that soak up water, the little granules. But he grows them right in the container, and you put the lid on, and he takes them to the grocery store, sells them at the market, and they're like really awesome. It's good stuff to check out. Dezombified, hey, how are you doing? Appreciate you stopping by. We're just talking all things hydro right now. I have seen strawberries done hydroponic before, and they do just fine. Okay, yeah, I think like I said, it's been years since I looked it up. Once I started with the greens and they work good, I've been doing that, and I haven't really strayed too much. I like to try a couple different things. Last year we grew, and that's why I get this thing mixed up with the pak choy. If it's called shiro, I think that this other plant was called shiro. We grew the leaves, and they were like green on the top and bright purple underneath. And they taste kind of like a beet. They have a little bit of a beet taste, but if you make a lot of spring rolls, they look really cool, rolling them up in the bright purple and green, or slicing them up and sprinkle them on stuff. I'm going to try and grow that again. It was like really easy to grow, but I haven't tried strawberries, and I've seen that some people doing it. Strawberries, I think, also work good with what's that, where they grow it in vermiculite or perlite, and they have a drip system kind of like the tomatoes, so I'm not sure how they do with their roots staying wet all the time. Keely, I'm retrying ground cherry in a 5-gallon bin, and really good plant to have. Yeah, that's cool. I hope you do good with that. There's nothing better than having cherry tomato plants, and during the spring, and we grow ours mostly during the summer too. It'll grow if you kind of keep it from the heat from getting to it. But walking out and getting ripe cherry tomatoes just off, whenever you're hungry, or you pop those off for a salad and just eat them right off the plant. They're nothing like the stuff you get at the store. The only problem is that after you do that a little while, you get spoiled, and then when you get into the store and you're paying $3 or $4 or $5 for a little container, and it tastes like bland, you get kind of mad. Let's see. You're doing microgreens outside, Rebecca? Okay, so they're asking Rebecca if you're growing it inside or outside. Artist Bun Keely, I'll figure out what's best with plant sacrificial bin. Yes, outside, Thomas. Okay. Like I said, give that, I'll see how mine are doing too, and I'll let you know. I'll do a video. I tried that little vermiculite sprinkling, and it seems to keep the top, dries out a little bit in the air, and instead of it just being that wet mat all the time. So that's one thing is down here, like in Florida, we're humid, and with that wicking system, it'll stay wet all the time. I'm in Arizona. I mean, 2-gallon ebb and flow. Seed starting tray, clay pebbles. Cool. We'll see how that works out. If anybody is in chat, I don't know. See, we're all at different levels. Like some of us are complete beginners, and some of us have been doing things. But if anybody doesn't know what ebb and flow is, it's where you have something like a substrate, like usually like hydroton or just your grow mat, but it doesn't stay wet all the time. Is the pump set on a timer, and the timer go off, and it'll fill up and stay up for a certain amount of minutes. And some of them have something called a bell siphon for the more complicated systems. But once it gets up so high, it'll keep it up in there. Once it gets up so high, that thing, the siphon will kick in, and it'll suck the water through gravity, will go out, and it'll suck everything back out. So it's like it floods it. It's like ebb and flow. So your water goes up just like the tide, and then it drops back down, and it hydrates all of your hydroton or your grow mats or whatever, and then those hold a little bit of the moisture until the next cycle when it does it again. I think that's what Crystal says she's got going on. I said there's all kinds of stuff you can do with hydro. So if you guys start with this, and if you graduate and you want to move on to something else, really fantastic stuff to do. I'm in AR, the middle of nowhere, United States. Yeah, I can sympathize with you. I was the last place before we moved. We're in the city right now. We were in the middle of nowhere. It took us 40 minutes to get to the store to do shopping and that. And now it's, we're like a mile, and it's just fantastic. Thanks for having a live chat. It's great to hear the questions and answers. Appreciate it, Janine. Thanks for sticking around and listen to me ramble on. I try to, hour and a half? I'm getting a little bit hoarse. Maybe we'll do these for like 2 hours, or like I said, if I get to the point where I can get my answers down shorter and right to the point and move on, maybe they can be a little shorter. I won't ramble on as much. Just looked up Shiro. Yeah, that's how it's spelled. It says it's cool weather only. Are you growing it in the heat? That's what Johnny sees. It said they're out of stock. Yeah, I grow them right through the summer. Now, if it's the middle of summer, it's like 95 degrees, and you have them sitting out. Like I said, I give everything morning sun, and then shade the rest of the day. If it's like 100 degrees or 95 degrees and you have it sitting right in the sun, they will all wilt. And sometimes they'll come back, but I grow them in the shade. They take a little longer to grow, but that's what I said. They don't form a head. So just the leaves that are big enough to eat, I pull those off, cut them up and use them, and they'll keep growing. And then once it starts to go to seed, I just pinch the little flowers off, and then sometimes I'll let those grow. And like you've seen in the last video, I have seeds, and that's what I use for my next season. I haven't bought any in like 5 years. Cool weather, they do extremely well. They'll grow pretty fast. And I've had these out there where it's gone down to freezing, like a frost, not like below freezing, but they'll actually freeze up and be hard. And by the time the sun comes up, if it's not like a 2 or 3 day frost, if it's just like frost overnight and the sun comes up and they thawed out and they were all just fine. Some leaves might die off and come back, but yeah, as far as cool weather, it'll go down to almost freezing. But give it a try. Like I said, you can't leave it sitting out. Almost all the plants can't stay direct sun all day long. Not in this system. Thanks, Mike. You were part of the inspiration. I started Microgreens company in Orlando. We're on Facebook. It's called Living Greens Grown Locally. Cool. Awesome. We'll take a look at it. That's awesome. So you actually started a company selling them. Like I said, if you need some tips in that, check Pepe Fassos out. He's selling it. It's in Australia. It's a little different, but growing them, you can get tips and tricks from each other. I think he did something like he was cutting his microgreens and brining them, washing them off in like water with just the tiniest bit of salt in it. And all the people down there are doing it. And they said that the microgreens last a lot longer, like a couple of weeks or something in the fridge after you harvest them. But no problem, Sean. That's what I like to hear, is just people have taken, what we've been doing and just using it, putting it to good use. Keely, some crazy lady called Van Doozy here. We grow ours indoors in a controlled environment because of bugs and mold. Yeah, that's where some of the micros, that's where we got the sunflower shoots and pea sprouts. That would be in one of the next videos. And we grew those inside. For some reason, out on the farm where we had lived before, there's little mice. They love the peas. And anytime I tried to grow peas, they'd come out one night and they'd yank the whole plant up and just eat the pea off of it. So your pea shoot and everything that was still good, they chew it off of it or chew it in half and just toss it to the side. So the plant, they ruin the plant just to get that little pea. And it would drive me nuts because like you'd have a whole row plant and he'd go along and just pull them all out and chew them and eat it. Eastern tribes for Three Sisters, I think. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Like I said, it's been years since I heard that, but I thought that that's what some of the Native Indians were using, the Native Americans, excuse me. Wasn't in the preview vid you did yesterday. Say you had squash. Yeah, it's not big squash like butternut and that. We've got zucchini. Keely, my wife there, she picked up a couple. She wrote growing so easily here, but it's not in direct sunlight. Yep. And so we've got a couple of zucchini, and then I think it might be a spaghetti squash. My wife's going to try it. She wants to try a couple of different things. She eats a lot of spaghetti squash and a lot of butternut squash. So if I could grow some of those, it'd be awesome. We grew not in the Kratky system, but a traditional garden, butternut squash when we were out there at the farm, and we had tons of them. It was all over the place. And we were gone for a week one time, and where we were living, they had a flock of peacocks. And they came by and they just pecked all of them. I guess there's like little bugs or an ant would be crawling on it. They're pecking at them or pecking at it. And they wouldn't eat the squash, but they went through every single one of them, and they were all just pecked to hell. And we lost like an entire crop of peacocks. So I'd like to grow some again. I'd like you to share with Mike. Thank you. Okay, so you are talking, I must have missed something like that. I'm going to miss them. Timing when you plant each of the Three Sisters is important. Okay, yeah, so if y'all do anything like that, like I said, I get the microgreens, put them in the downspout, grow them. And if you're going to get anything complicated like that, like Janine said, that when you're growing different plants, they have different needs at different times. So timing to get them all growing at the same time, and which ones are fruiting and which one, whatever you're trying to benefit you're trying to get from each of the plants is a little difficult. So you really got to look that up. Let's see. Who's next? Hubert. How to store ready to harvest greens in a tray, in a bag, or for the fridge. What I do, and this might be different for everyone else too, is if I harvest it, I just like to cut it. And I don't wash mine or anything right off the bat. I don't like getting a lot of water on it. And I get a bigger container than I need, and I harvest, and we just did this out, it'll be in the next video. I harvest like the pea shoots and bean sprouts and things like that, and put them loosely into a container and close it up without washing it. And I put them in the refrigerator and try not to put them all the way in the back where they're like going to get the coldest part. I put them towards the front where it's just maybe 40, I think is what most of your refrigerators are at, 40, 42. And I leave them like that. And what I need is when I pull them out, then I wash them and use them. And that seems to, sometimes my microgreens have lasted like weeks and weeks in the refrigerator that way. If you do get any moisture in it, I like to get a clean paper towel and put a paper towel in the bottom and then set them on top. And like I said, and don't put a bunch in a small container and cram them in there like you see them in the store sometimes. I like to leave them loose and set them in, and then they'll last for, at least a week or maybe more. And most of my other greens, leafy greens and that, I don't really put too many in the icebox. I just grow, like I said, I'm growing more than I need because the bugs are going to eat some. But whenever, I just like it being out there. So when I go out, I don't look and say, I've got like a ton of kale that I need to eat or cut and put in the refrigerator. It's growing. If it grows a little bigger, it grows bigger. It just, the bigger it gets a little bitter, a little more tough. And we usually eat them when they're small, because baby greens right now are like expensive because that's like the hip thing when it's just a baby plant. But they sell them they're really expensive over here. But if you go out and they're out there all the time, people like them because they're smaller and they're really tender. They don't have that real bitter taste. So you can put them in your juices. You guys will see me mixing up a smoothie and that. If you get kale and chard and like the big leaves and you put it in, you can really taste it. But if you get the little small tender leaves, we'll always walk over there and eat them. And I don't never harvest a bunch and put it in the refrigerator because I just eat what I need. And then whatever, if it gets too big or starts to, the tips get burned a little, I pull those off. And like I said, I toss them away from the garden. And then that's more of a sacrificial plant somewhere else that people, or your pest and that, there'll be something somewhere else that they're eating on. So I don't never have my fridge packed with the stuff that we've harvested. I just always leave it out there in the garden. Sean, that's awesome. I know I'm just so far behind. I still don't have my system. Let's see where we at. Thanks much, Sean. Larry, how are you doing, Larry? I still don't have my system fully running, but just moved it into the sun and stuff took off better. Yep, it's just like all of the farmers and gardeners, we wait around and they're waiting in the wintertime and they're just waiting for that last frost. But like, right now the temperatures are mild, and if you can get as much sun as you can get without your plant suffering, this is like an awesome time to be out there gardening. So I move my stuff around. That's why we like these. See, if you can't do this, if you go over and you have your garden and you plow it and you till it and you plant it, and then all of a sudden you found out that you didn't look where the sun was or how many hours and it's suffering, you can't really do anything. So if you got these sitting somewhere in a bunch of them and you notice that it's getting too much sun, I mean, you can take that and pick it up and move it. We've even traveled where we took this and dumped it out and left a little bit of nutrients, just a tiniest little film, and put these in the car, a bunch of them, and traveled with them and dumped it in the nutrients into a bucket and took it and then set it back up and filled it back up. So you can move around. Hurricane Irma came through when we were in down there close to Gainesville, and we had a porch full of greens and everything. And if it's out in your garden, really you can't do anything, to it. You're just going to say it's just going to be gone after the storm. We took them and did that. We dumped everything out. Anything in a big container, we just picked up, moved the container, dropped it back on top of it, and moved everything inside. I mean, in less than half a day, like our entire garden was inside our living room. Storm went by and everything, took everything, put it back out in the sun. Usually the storm goes by and all of a sudden the sun comes out and everything's like wonderful again, and took everything back out. And so that's one thing with growing in little small containers like this. You can pick them up and move them around. It's, that's just another added benefit that your traditional garden can't do. Or your greenhouse, if everything's all set in stone, everything's just down, you can't really pick it up and move it. These, it's like that, it's just like moving a potted plant, kind of. When I was a teenager, I was training Doberman to chase the blimp. All right. Cool. So you were down there with the blimp too, at about the same time that you were a teenager. Yeah, I left Miami when I was 14 years old. Let's see, it's growing real good. I will tell Mike to show it in his next video. Oh yeah, she found one of the shiro. One of the seeds must have fell down last year when we were harvesting, and she just found one of them and picked it up and put in a little Kratky container. Let's see, we have several plants moved because too much sun has changed. Okay, so my wife's just talking with y'all. Cool, appreciate y'all chatting with my wife, or she's helping a lot too. She knows a lot of the stuff that I'm doing. She might not know some of the technical stuff, but she's been growing this stuff with me and she knows a lot too. Let's see, smiley face, happy people. Thanks, I'm new, trying bib lettuce. Bib lettuce is pretty good. That's one of the easier things to grow in here. We're doing this YouTube thing because to leave something for the kids. Yep, de-zombified. If our channel doesn't take off until we die, or at least it will be worth more when it grows along. Cool. Yeah, that's what, if you guys don't mind me, I know I'm way behind on the chat, but if we talk about different things, I'm coming on here and this is about hydroponics and we talk gardening, but one thing is that we're on the internet, and that's one thing with my channel, 2 years ago, and I had like 30 subscribers or something, and we were on there, I was just showing people how to do things. And when it just grows and grows, like, so you're not just thinking, oh, this is a little channel, and it's not like a vanity thing, but you're thinking the legacy that you're leaving, that as long as the internet's going to be around in the future, and as long as, all like YouTube may be around or whatever, but these videos get shared out and people take it and spread that around. And your kids are going to be able to look back and see stuff that was not possible when we were, I'm in my 50s, but you can have anything on TV unless you ask somebody and went to some producers or somebody, handful of people made up their mind who was going to be on TV or who wasn't, and it was hard to share information with people without writing a letter and trying to mail it everywhere. This is fantastic that we can all sit down and chat. I mean, who was in the chat here? There was Trinidad and Tobago and New Zealand and Australia and in Canada, and we're all over the world sharing information with each other and taking that and using it. That's just fantastic. I mean, our kids just have no idea how good, you know, what a great thing this is. You know, everybody gets down on the internet like, oh, it's bad, and people, the internet's just as bad as we make it. If we go out there and just put negative out and we just do bad, the internet's going to be bad. But if we take one of the best tools in mankind, one of the best tools in history to connect with other people, and we use it for good, it's amazing. Arizona's sun is too harsh. Yeah, well, here's that one didn't come. There we go. Shade cloth is heaven sent. Yep, Janine, that's what my last video, I kind of did a little blurry thing. I didn't want to just show it right off the bat, but that's what we're putting shade cloth up to. Like I said, we get 95. Sometimes it gets up close to 100, and the heat index is over 100. And we're going to try a little shade cloth because, like I said, I've been trying to give it morning sun and afternoon shade, but we moved into a different place, and I'm kind of limited on where I can situate everything. So we want to kind of maximize a little bit of space that we have. So we built a little structure with some shade cloth. And bok choy, some catnip for my crackhead cat. It's very happy. Yep. Keely wants a cat. I told her no. We got 2 chihuahuas. Y'all seen them in the videos and that. We used to have a catnip, but if we did, she'd have catnip growing. If she grew catnip right now, we've got stray cats all over the neighborhood. There were 2 ladies over here, elderly ladies, and they rescued a lot of cats. And when they passed away, the cats are in the neighborhood. If we grew catnip, we would have like 40 cats in our backyard. I went to search and came up with Johnny's, and they are all out of stock of Shiro pak choy. Oh, have a seller to source. I don't know. I'll go look. If you're half pound, are you Texas tea? Are you looking to grow them as microgreens, or are you wanting them as the actual plant? Because I didn't need a half a pound. Believe it or not, if you go back through all my videos and you look at all of the pak choy from all these years, the very first year before I started making videos, I was experimenting, and instead of having a bunch of containers like this, I actually dug a hole in the ground, a trench, and lined it with plastic, and I put styrofoam over the top. I don't recommend people do that because if you don't know it's there, we lived out in the middle of nowhere and it's gated, so we didn't have visitors. You know, they could walk and step into, you know, the ditch. But I put must have been about 20, 24 plants in there and didn't worry about it. Stuck them out there, put the nutrient solution in, rain, it overflow, come back, whatever. I just let them go and didn't even worry about it. And those things grew. They went to seed. There was yellow flowers all over the place, and there was massive amounts of bumblebees and honeybees. And you come around the corner and just hear it buzzing. It was like a swarm of them, and they all went to seed, and I saved those, and those are the seeds that I saved. But all of those came from one little packet that I got at like Home Depot, or I didn't even order it somewhere. It was at one of these stores. I bought one packet, and those are the ones that I used that year. And all of that stuff that you've seen for 2 years, all of this pak choy came from that one packet. So actually, if you can, the last video I had, I have a bunch hanging up. That'll probably be like another year's worth of pak choy for us, because you grow one little thing of microgreens, unless you're eating a bunch of microgreens. See, I grow microgreens and just eat them incidentally because they're growing, and I have them to put into the downspouts to grow baby greens, because I think that it's more cost effective to be eating something a little bigger like a baby green than to eat a bunch of microgreens. You can really get into some money. Like I said, if you're looking for half-pound bags or 1 pound, and I think peas and sunflower seeds are about the only thing I buy, like, you know, the bigger seeds that I buy in a bulk like that. Let's see. Please understand that the ground medium is the stomach for the plant. Give the plant what it needs when it needs. Follow nature on first. Cool. But this is the way I feel about it. It's not a plant. And when people can get into, and that's why I don't argue a lot on my videos or say anything about chemicals and this and that. A plant, when it comes down to the NPK and nitrogen and phosphorus, the plant doesn't know, you know, if it's coming from the, it's not like they made, when they're making the fertilizers, like it magically came from some big poisonous mountain or something, that these things came from different sources. And the plant, if it's that bad for the plant too, I mean, it's not going to survive. I don't really get into, whether it's a nutrient solution or, the best thing is growing in the soil. I mean, that's the way we've done it for tens of thousands of years. If you can do it like that, that's fine. But I don't go for the fear of just there and everybody saying, oh, it's just chemicals and you shouldn't do it. It's unnatural. It's a natural evolution of something. And like I said, we can sit here one day and just go through all the benefits of hydroponics and why some people are doing it. Some people can't grow. There's like some of the people that have told me they're going back to a third world country where it's like desert-like conditions that they can't grow anything, and they're trying to do hydroponics, but they can't afford it. That they've looked into buying and shipping stuff, but when they see stuff like Dr. Kratky, where you just get a used container, and if you can get some nutrient solution, or maybe some people can make organic solutions, to work with it. If you can do that, then all the better. But with these stagnant systems, the organic things really get smelly and get rancid really fast. Keely, leaving everything, he has a question to start off a question, then ask. Let's see, it would help Mike to scroll through the chat quicker. What if I'd done the past live streams? Works great. Everything who has a question to start off with a question. Oh, okay. Yeah, what George is saying is so that I can scroll through. If you have a question, if y'all are just talking with each other, like I see a lot of you helping each other, and you put at Hydroponic Gardening and at George and that. But if you have a specific question you want me to answer, if you start off with just question and then put it on there, then I can scroll through it and skip through all of the, because I'm reading a lot of comments and that, and it's people talking amongst themselves. And like I said, I'm kind of new at this, but George, that's pretty good. If you all could do that, that would be a huge help. Because let me see, am I way behind? Looks like I'm way behind. We'll be here all night. Been getting some of our seeds from Zell Farms. I think they're in Florida and a few other places. Arugula, pak choy, and others, half pounds to use in Dollar Tree containers with cocoa coir. Oh, cool. Appreciate that. We'll take a look. If anybody sees that, Texas Tea has that. It says Zell Farms. He says they're here in Florida. No, construction rock wool for hydro. It's treated toxic. Yeah, that's what, if anybody, I don't know, so somebody must have asked about construction. They make rock wool, and that's actually where I think it started, was in the construction industry, but they use it for soundproofing and insulation. You can look up some of them are treated and some aren't, but they'll treat some with, because it's a building material, they'll treat it with, somebody help me out, flame retardant. And some people say they don't because it's a rock, it's a spun rock that it's not going to catch on fire anyway. It's going to, your whole structure would be gone before that catches on fire. So there's a couple of people I said, I think some people found some that was and wasn't. I see a big discussion all over the internet when I was looking up hydro. It is a lot cheaper. Some people get it. And here's the bad thing. If it is treated, I've seen some people are saying that they're showing people how to grow microgreens and sell them to like chefs and sell them, and they were saying to use that they get the construction grade. So if there is flame retardant in it and they're using it, then these people have videos out there on the internet where they're selling it to restaurants, and we're going out there and ordering and eating and paying like a high price for this fancy meal that has microgreens on it, and it might have been grown in the stuff that they were actually taking it to the store with that. So like I said, I don't know their names or anything, I'm not mentioning, but if those are, but if not, if they're just used for soundproofing, maybe they're not treated, but that's a whole nother topic. See, we can go off on a tangent on anything. That's why I want to have these live streams maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks, and you guys just come with your questions and that, and probably might leave with more questions than you had when you came here sometimes. George, thanks, George. I lived in South Florida. I'd be growing year-round. Yeah, no doubt. South Florida. I'm gonna tell you, here we go on a tangent again. I grew up in Miami, and we had 2 grapefruit trees, huge pink grapefruit, which they're really expensive in the store. We're in Florida, and friggin' pink grapefruit is expensive. That's crazy. But we had 2 huge pink grapefruit trees. We had an orange, a lime tree, we had an avocado tree. The guy across the street had a mango tree. And I don't remember anyone fertilizing anything. These things just grew. The fruit dropped, it rotted and composted, and it's a natural thing. We knew nothing about gardening or anything. My dad, all we did was mow the yard, and they grew and had fruit like every year. I ate so much pink grapefruit that I didn't eat any for 20 years after I got out of Miami, because we would have it all through the winter. My mom would pick all the grapefruit and peel it and have it in the freezer, and we'd have grapefruit like all through the winter. I mean, it's great and it's healthy for you, but I ate my fill. South Florida is just awesome, and that's what we were talking about. If we ever move, we might move south, stay away from the snow, and then just have a friggin' orchard in the back and a garden all year round would just be awesome. I am trying that. We will see how it works. Have some pak choy, amaranth bolted. Yeah, all of those. It's been such a mild winter. That all of our plants that usually we grow through the fall and the winter, they've all bolted. And like I said, I've got pak choy seeds that I never got in February before March, and I've got those hanging up drying. I picked them like a month ago. We've had a mild thing. Everything bolted. The bees came back out. We had bees like in February, and we got some seed. So we got some more pak choy seed from stuff that we usually don't. Spell check for the win. Laugh out loud. Your channel is awesome, Ben Ott. Thank you very much. Started my first Kratky tomato yesterday using extra celebrity that I grew. Awesome. Appreciate that. Glad we could help. And like I said, if you got any pictures to share with us, we'd love to see it. Awesome, Ben. Too funny. All right, maybe I might get a chance to catch up. I don't think I am, but. Is it possible to use construction rock wool? Okay, so you're asking, I think, Rob, if you heard what we were just talking about with the construction rock wool. That's what I tell people what they can or can't do. Just like these vinyl downspouts, when people get into plastic, I get lots of people coming on and commenting. And they'll get fight in the comments sometimes that, it's plastic, you're going to die. And other people saying they've talked to chemists and people who make them and saying that they need to heat up to so far before they leach chemicals. And there's this whole debate back and forth. And you have food grade plastics, and then people are saying, well, it's plastic anyway, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm just showing you guys what I do, what you can do, and all the different possibilities. And that's why I like to try and grow stuff without plastics and everybody just make up the mind what you can and can't do. And it's the same things with that rock wool. I use rock wool it worked good. I liked it. The one that's made for hydroponics, it was just too expensive for me. And when I saw the builder grade one and it came out a lot cheaper, I was tempted to use it too. But I'm not going to come on here and tell you, yeah, you can use that. And it's full of flame retardants, and everybody gets sick. So I don't know. You'll have to look that up yourself. And somebody else said the same thing. Because of your videos, I tried Kratky, zucchini, basil, pak choy in my apartment under cheap LED flood lamps. So far, so good. Awesome. Appreciate it. Let me know how the zucchini does, because we've got like little small plants, and my wife, and we've got two. She thought she got a zucchini and a yellow squash, and she grabbed both zucchini. So we're going to have a lot of zucchini. Pak choy is awesome growing. I like it. Like I said, people might get tired of seeing me grow pak choy, but we love it. Watch out. Lemon juice with sulfites. Read the labels. Don't use it. Yeah, you just gotta get the natural lemon juice. Some of this stuff, it's like in a little bottle that looks like a lemon that you squeeze on. It's got like preservatives in that. And really, if you just get a lemon, all you're gonna need is like a teaspoon or a tablespoon. Get a real lemon and just squeeze it, and then you don't have to worry about it. Problem solved. It's the traditional growing. Yep, traditional growing. We still do it. My wife's got a little herb garden out there. Beauty of it outside. Yum zucchini. Alrighty. All right, I'm gonna go through here. Like I said, y'all let me know if you ever want me to just jump to the bottom if I'm so far behind. I'd like to hear recipes and ideas for your harvest. All right, yeah, we can do that. It's the one. I don't mind doing it. We can. I don't know if any of you, because lots of people who come on here and watch your channel, they're watching for a specific reason. But if you make videos for YouTube, this is the one thing is that to grow your channel so that more people see it, there's certain things you have to do. And if YouTube sees that I'm like putting out hydroponic videos and people are searching for hydroponic videos and they see it, then they look at their habits of what they view and what they do, and probably what you buy and consume and everything else, if you want to get, that paranoid about it. And then they find a lookalike audience that's like that, and they start serving it up to other people and thinking, well, these people liked it, maybe these people will like it too. And then when you throw something else in the mix, like if I'm just doing gardening and then I throw a cooking one in, like sometimes you'll see me put a different type of video in, then everything just comes to a screeching halt. And they might not even let you guys who are subscribed to the channel know when a new video comes out. Just like I have 14,000 subscribers right now. When I put up a new video, they don't show that notification to 14,000 people. So we try our best to kind of stay on the straight and narrow so that the algorithm knows who to serve it up to and who will be looking for it. And anytime we stray, it messes that up, and then people don't see your video. So we try to keep, I tend to be a rebel, and then I'm creative and I do all kind of wacky stuff. So once in a while I'll throw in a couple of recipes. If you guys just know that, I didn't turn into a recipe channel, that I'm just showing how to use some of the greens. But if it just gets shown in YouTube, like the suggested feed or the browse feature, and people click on it and they're looking for gardening and they click on it and I'm cooking, they'll think they're on a cooking channel and they'll click off. So they're like clicking on and clicking off, and that hurts your channel, and the YouTube won't show it to a lot of people. So, but I'll put a couple on. I know people like it. I used to cook. You can ask my wife. I was in the restaurant business for like 20 years. So I love cooking. So some of that will come, even though it messes up my channel. So you guys just help by if you guys keep sharing it out, and I can depend on people just sharing it, then I don't need YouTube to serve it up to people, and I'll do off the wall stuff. Thomas, don't you lose your nutrients? Must have missed something there. I have an orange tree growing in a Kratky system that I started from the store-bought orange. It looks great. It's doing better than the ones I place in soil. Cool. Awesome. I've been watching some of Tad's stuff there. I like to see that, Tad. I want to see how that goes, because I don't know if sooner or later you're going to have to get it into the ground. I'm sorry, it's already been said, but what's the Facebook group? Don't be sorry. It's Keep On Growing without a G, Growin, like a little apostrophe. So Keep On Growing. And like I said, you go to the little tabs. If you do a search in Facebook, you'll come up with like people, places, pages, stuff like that. And then I'll have a tab for groups. Hit groups and you'll find us. You click on it. It's not just ask to join. My wife will let you in. It gets diluted, but watch the leaves. It gets diluted. Yeah, so you guys, if you're doing this kind of system, if you want to do it like me, you don't worry about all the meters. Brent is one that's down there. He does hydroponics. There's a lot of hydroponic people that get into all of the nutrient levels and the parts per million. And if you want to do that, it works really well and it's good. I don't know, you can call me lazy or whatever, but I don't mess with all of that. I put nutrients in. If I see my leaves starting to yellow a little bit, I kind of done it long enough. I know it's starting that I need to add some more nutrients, or if I see the tips burning in that, I know there's too much, and I'll just add straight water. And I don't mess with, when you have a bunch of these containers all over the place, and then if you had to go with your meter into each one, and you're planting them at different times and test them and do a little pH up, and this one needs a little bit of nutrients, and this one needs, they're not all the same, you can drive yourself crazy. But if you've got everything in one system, like I said, if you go look at Spring Hill Farms or Fenster Farms, where they've got them all lined up and it all drains back into one huge reservoir, and you just have to test that reservoir and adjust it accordingly. Or some people have stuff that auto dose, then that's cool. But if you have a lot of these sitting around, if you got the time to do it, you can, but I really don't have. Oh, there you go. Appreciate that. Tad put the Keep On Growing thing, our group. That's fun. We'll be doing a lot more stuff over there. Like I said, if I do these chats and I'm losing you guys or not keeping up, go to the Facebook group and make a post and just leave a question. And sooner or later, me, my wife, or some of the other people that are here will get to you, and then we can have a discussion on each one of those posts around each one of these questions. Let's see. Can you please do experimenting with different mediums like cocoa or perlite husk, for example? Yep. If you check out Brent, hydroponic growing with, I forget the exact name, it'll be down below. He actually grows in husk, I think, but it might be rice hulls. I think he's one that uses that. Somebody does. There's a couple of people that have grown in that. Cocoa, I can do a couple of experiments if you want me to. I'd rather not. Like I said, I'm cheap, and around here cocoa coir is like pretty expensive, so I don't mind getting one or two and doing a little experiment. But it gets pretty expensive. And the different mediums, we can try some stuff. I mean, as long as people, I guess I've done enough videos with this where we have no medium. See, the pool noodle is not actually a medium. Like rock wool is a medium for it to grow in. Hydroton's a medium that goes in the cup and the roots grow into it. So when you're done, you actually have to try and pull all that hydroton off and clean it off. The rock wool gets tossed away. The pool noodle just holds a stem. And it's just like, here's this little flower my wife made, paper flower. But if that's your plant and the stem, the pool noodle is just holding on to it. And it's not growing, the roots aren't growing into it. So it's not actually a medium. It's just holding it like a cloning collar. So it's not actually a growing medium. And so when I used the pool noodle, that was to get rid of all of that stuff, because that's all what was costing me money, was using those things over and over and over and using it and throwing away. And then I'm spending, like $50 to grow $30 worth of lettuce. But like I said, if you want to use it, that's fine. I'm not telling people what they can or can't do. It might be easier growing with it, but I just don't do it. It's too expensive for me. I did ebb and flow, Kratky, deep water culture, DWC deep water culture. If it, like I said, some of you people are here that don't know anything about hydroponics, that's like a floating raft system. It's deep water culture where you just have the water and it's aerated or moving. And some of them will have the like the Kratky system where it goes down and the roots can dangle, and some are floating like a floating raft system where it's on styrofoam and it rests right on top of it, so there's not that air, so you got to aerate the water. I like ebb and flow. The roots do well in that for my area, but the system was indoors. Yeah, so that's what she's talking about, Crystal. And there's lots of fascinating stuff if you all want to just, you just want to start checking out all the stuff with hydroponics. Having a tasty smoothie with greens is hard to do. Fruit is only easy. Yeah. You know what, George? And that's what a lot of people, when they see me, sometimes I'll post on Instagram a smoothie, and they're like, what's your recipe? And they keep asking. That's why Kaylee's coming up with recipes. We really don't have a recipe. We'll grab greens and put them in there. She'll put some ice, put a little liquid, maybe some almond breeze, maybe some water, and we'll throw some fruit in for sweetness, just whatever's on hand, or maybe some frozen fruit. And we grow stevia. And sometimes we just get a couple of leaves of stevia and drop it in, and that's all you need for sweetness. And we grind it up. And lots of times it's not like sitting down and having a milkshake and enjoying it. I think sometimes it's just getting my daily dose of greens that I need. And sometimes if it doesn't taste the best, I'm not going to lie and say that every smoothie that we make tastes like the one you get from Tropical Smoothie or something. But there's not all the calories that you get in those. It's like blending down your salad and having a little fruit in it for sweetness, or if you want yogurt or whatever you want to put in it. And sometimes my wife will give it to me and I'll chug it. That's why I don't like it like too much ice and frozen, where I'll get brain freeze. I let mine warm up a little bit, and if it doesn't taste good, I'll chug it and think I'm drinking my medicine instead of thinking like it's a fruit smoothie. So lots of times people are asking us for a recipe, and I'm like, you don't want my smoothie recipe. Yeah, probably not gonna like it. I hear, let's see, you there haven't posted on mine in a week or two. I hear you there. Okay. He's talking about, yeah, it's kind of tough keeping up with all of these platforms and making videos. And that's why I want to do this live stream and maybe do this a couple of times a week, and just that way I can, instead of spending hours filming and making a video, I can sit down and just answer questions and just get real with y'all. I set out 21 different peppers and 3 seeds and 63 plants to deal with. See, sadly, I don't have that much containers to deal. Time to use Tupperware in the house. Yep, we use Tupperware. Cool. I'm trying to start off lettuce and Jiffy coconut starter pods. They won't germinate. I can get them going in potting soil though. Do you have some sort of additives to start lettuce seeds? No, I think with lettuce, I think it has to do with more with temperature. And some of the lettuce, there's different varieties. Some of them I found germinate like really fast. And some of them I find that it takes forever for them to germinate. I think you got to get like I think they're real finicky about the temperature. You might want to look that up and see, because I know that lettuce in the heat, it won't germinate. It might be too hot and it could be too cold. You got to find that like sweet spot for some of those. George, let's see. How do you guys handle mold growing on your rock wool or coconut starter pods? Santiago, from what I know, some of the stuff, most of the stuff that you see growing on a rock wool, unless you live somewhere and you've got mold floating around and it's growing on it, if it's like green and like the algae, it really doesn't hurt the plants. And I've seen even commercial farms, the little block will be green and they'll still plant it, grow a plant. You don't want it to, that's why, like I said, you try to block out as much light as you can so any of that algae doesn't grow in your whole, container. But I don't think, as far as like, if you're talking about algae, I don't think that makes too much of a difference on the rock wool itself. If it's like white or black and like that, like mold, then that's a problem. So I don't know which one you're talking about there. Fenster, I think it's Fenster Farms or whatever, the commercial farm. They actually had a solution. It was an organic solution that was like an antibacterial thing that they took their plants with the rock wool and they had the solution. And when they took the rock wool and broke them apart, when you have your starter pack, and when they went to put them into the different channels, they would dip it in that solution. I think they dipped the whole plant too, the leaves and all, in this organic solution and the rock wool and everything, and then set it in. And I think that took care of a lot of that problem. So I don't know what they use. You might want to check out their channel and see what they were using. I can grow the heck out of tomatoes and bell peppers, but my squash died on me. Yeah, it depends. There's different things. We have good luck with some stuff and bad luck. Squash, we're doing really well. One time when we had a ton of squash and then all of a sudden we got like the powdery mildew. There's always something. You have all your problems you have to deal with all of this stuff. Keely's inspired me to start using cattle fencing. Yeah, we've seen the place that we farm sat at had used cattle panels to make like bird cages, like aviaries. And I've seen greenhouses in that. You buy them and they're like 16 feet, I think, long. So you can bend them, unlike your PVC is like 10 foot and you have to try and piece it together. These 16 feet, you take it, you just make an arch and wire them together, and boom, you've got a high tunnel. Let's see, George, send me your page, Keely. Want to see the recipes? Let's see. All right, cocoa can be finicky from what I've seen. I don't think I use it for seed starting. That's what I thought too. Like the rock wool too. I think somebody said something about the cocoa. I don't know about the acidity as much, but something they used in the processing. If you get one of the cheaper brands, that they used a lot of salt or something in cleaning it, and then when you put it in and wet it, that these salts would just kill your seeds. So get a good cocoa product from a reputable like hydroponic grower if you're going to use it. I think we've driven the stock price down on that. Yeah, there's been a lot of places I've gotten a lot of emails and DMs from people that were saying, where do you get them? And they'd go up to Home Depot or Lowe's and they'd be out and like these little green containers. I got some people messaging me saying that they're out of stock and all the Dollar Trees around them. And sometimes when we go in, that's what we know. I started using them because like a year ago, and I was actually selling them, making them and selling them, because I'd go in, they'd always be in there. So I was like, oh, I'll use those because they're readily available. And now they're hard to find. I think pool noodles too. Something, it was getting towards the end of last season. Everywhere we went in, I'm used to at the end of the season, before I started making videos, that they'd go on clearance because summertime's over and they don't want to ship them back. So they'd go on clearance and they'd be like $1 a piece or something. And I'd go in and buy a bunch that I'd use through the winter and sometimes into the next spring. And every store we went in, we'd walk in, they were gone, and we're like, you don't have any pool noodles? They're like, no, some guy came in and bought them all. They were like surprised, and that it happened like in several places. So who knows, they might be doing something else, but using it as insulation. I see them doing crafts and stuff, or maybe some people are growing like us. But yeah, the pool noodles were gone too. Yeah, I hope it doesn't catch on and then like a downspout goes up to like $40 for a downspout or something, because like $12 right now is kind of expensive. If I want to go put 10 of those up in the yard or something, but if the price goes up because of that, I'll feel kind of bad. Let's see. What Keely say? Starting seeds and then big enough to move into containers. Mike has a video on it. Okay. Boo Boo, you don't know how happy I am that you're helping and talking to some people, because there's no way I would even begin to keep up. I know we're losing some people. Where are we at? 18 people now. So it's getting to be a little smaller group. Maybe I'll catch up with some of y'all. I'm skipping through a lot of these. Like George said, if it doesn't say question and people are talking amongst themselves, so I might miss a couple. So just put your question again if I miss. Pak choy, cool. I started a few seeds a few days ago. And is that green mold starting to grow on top of the rock wool? Oh, okay. Oh, so it's already grown? Yeah, because my pak choy, like, it sprouts like in 2 or 3 days. I don't know. It's that's why I don't use rock wool. Is I kept having that problem. I'd buy a thing of rock wool and it'd be $15, and I plant seeds in it and set it out. And like you said, and then you'd have green algae all over it. And back then I didn't know, like I said, I seen some commercial people actually using it and putting it in with the algae. I thought it was like bad, and I'd be throwing it out and getting some more, and that's where it was getting expensive. But I know what you're talking about, because you're keeping it moist. Maybe you're keeping it too wet. Just put enough in the bottom because it wicks it up. And sometimes the middle of it might be moist enough for the seeds to germinate, and the roots will go down. If the whole thing's too wet, the roots might go all over the place. I think with rock wool, you kind of want the roots going down and then spreading out. And when they come out the bottom and start spreading out is when you know that it's time to take it. And then you can plant it in your little cup, and you can put your solution up to the bottom of the cup and drop your rock wool in there. Maybe you're keeping it a little too moist. I'm not real sure, but that's what I would go with on that. Santiago, rock wool. I have in my air gardening our lovely shade of green. Yeah, that's the aero garden. America, too much for the squash. Left Miami 19 years ago, 1983. I left 1980. So we're down there about the same time. We probably walked on by each other at some point. Earthworms are not happily living in soil, not either. Fresh tomatoes, yes. Hello, Mike, Diana. Here we go. Somebody new. Hello, Diana. Thanks for joining. I don't know how long ago you were. 9:49. Yeah, I'm 10. Oh, I'm half an hour behind in the chat. I'm sorry. Should I just jump down and then go backwards from there? Just drop in and say hello, show support. Thank you, Diana, Keely. Let me skip here. Everybody saying bye, bye, bye. All right, I'm going to zoom by the chat here. If you guys didn't know, I'm like half an hour behind. I'm going to scoot down in the chat, and if I miss anybody, go ahead and just repeat yourself, because I'm like half an hour behind in the chat. I'm sorry. You guys must feel like you're in a time warp waiting on me to catch up. All right, 10:20. Been breeding peppers. Let's jump ahead. I'll get better at this, guys. For a year now, and some lime juice and baking soda is always working in stock. It's always in stock. Yep, so that's that. Baking soda and lemon juice. Food grade stuff, so I'm waiting on work for more containers to plant in. Yeah, that's one place too. If you guys have seen, if you're new and you don't know, Lowe's, I think, is where I got it. and Home Depot, I think, had one, but they're starting to put food grade. If you look at the 5-gallon containers, you got to look, because some are just construction grade and some are food grade now. They never had that before. And what we would do is go to all the restaurants, bakeries. Icing comes in big 5-gallon buckets, and they were using it and throwing them out. When we worked in the restaurants, we would use those buckets as like grease buckets to take out the dirty grease and take it out to the grease pit outside, and then toss the buckets. Some of them will give it to you free. We were at Larry's, I think, up here one time, and we went up and asked them when we did the rain gutter grow system, and they sold it to us for like $1 a piece. And so those were food grade. Good one, Mike. I can hardly ever find pool noodles on a tourist island nonetheless. And when I can, $6 to $9 for a pool noodle. Wow, that's crazy. See, if they cost that much up here, I might not have started using it for this in the first place. It's just that even in Walmart, I mean, it's still cheap. It's like $2 or $3, but we're in a dollar store and it's like $1. And we're like, well, it looks like one of the cloning collars, and it's 4 feet long, so we got 48 of them out of there. But yeah, for $9, let's see, $10 and 50 of them, 40 of them, 20 cents a piece. I mean, it's still, so you're coming out kind of close to what some of the cheaper collars cost. Some of the more expensive neoprene collars can cost a little bit more. But yeah, $9 for a pool noodle, I don't know, that's kind of steep. I know if you order them on Amazon too, off season, that they cost that much too. I only started this a few months ago and wish I knew before. Yeah, Crystal, it's that I said the same thing to my wife. There's now, that we've tried that. I go back like 15 years, even 20 or 30 years, when we were every time, every few years we'd want to try something. I'd get out there and till up the yard and get everything and throw all the seeds and think you're like the next farmer, and you get little sprouts and you get excited, and something would always go wrong. I'd get a little bit of something to eat here, a couple of squash or this or that, but from year to year different things would go wrong, and it's hard. And when we started doing this, it was so easy. We're like, man, could you imagine if we were like 30 years ago when we first got married or first got together, if we could have had like our porch full of food, back then when we were struggling, and my wife's uncle and that would like fill up our freezer with food, and you're both working for minimum wage, you're starting, we think if we could have just had, the knowledge to cheaply grow a bunch of food like that, would have just been awesome. It would have helped us so much. Susan's Creative, hello, thank you for stopping in. These are lots of Stacy Morgan, I see you down there too, and Designified stopped by. These are my friends from all the other groups. We're all a bunch of creators, and like I said, that some of you guys here are on here for the hydroponics, and we're just talking gardener. That I've got other friends too, and she's one of them that are from the creator groups. She's another artist. Keely, I want to check her stuff out. Susan, my wife is an artist, and that's what we've done for a living, is paint murals. And Keely, she's an artist, and she does what Keely's wanting to do is painting and that, like live streaming. So you two need to like check each other's channels out. So the buckets you get at Home Depot are not good for planting. You need food grade ones. There's some of them, the ones that I've used, they're white and they have a big sticker on that. Before they just had a little print on the side and said food grade. Now they've got a big sticker because they know that people are starting to use, as people keep using them and the demand grows, they make it more obvious. So they've got a big sticker, and I think it was Lowe's that I got it at, but Home Depot, at one time they didn't have that big sticker. They just had a little print on the side and it said food grade. So you're going to have to look, because I think that I did get them at either place, but they have both of them. Sometimes they'll have like the regular one, which we've used for years, but it's always better if you can get food grade to go ahead and get that. Stacy Morgan, hey, appreciate you coming in. I see you out there. You're trying to help all the creators all the time. Kudos what you're doing. Dollar General's time. Sometimes the Dollar Generals, that's what I said. I wait for like the season to end, and like if somebody was buying them all up, but sometimes they're pretty cheap. All of you guys who are like the creators, Stacy Morgan, Susan, Designified, everybody stopped in for that. This is my hydroponics channel, and then I've just started live streaming and answering questions. But the Creator Spotlight show that you see me on my other channel, I'm going to be live streaming this. I'm kind of practicing too and getting the software in that. And we're going to start interviewing creators. And when you guys want to be on, and just like this, we'll just have someone on and just chit chatting like some of you other guys are doing your channels. But we'll talk about that. But this is leading up to that too. So when I get some time in this next month, we're going to get started on that other channel. And I want all you guys on there and to get on here and talk to people and tell them what you're about and what you do and why you create. And, you know, there's a whole nother group of people that I'm in with all of that. Let's see. Who is that dude? Just dropping in to say hello. I hope all is well. Ben, where you been? Ben's someone that I've known for, how long, Ben? It's been over a year. It's a little group, like I said, another group of creators, Twitter fam. We all kind of found each other, and we've been following each other on Twitter for over a year. So glad you dropped in, Ben. Appreciate it. We're talking hydroponics. Well, now we're actually down to where the creators and that are here. Good night, all. Good night, Becky. Appreciate you coming in. Like I said, I'm going to get better at this and be able to keep up with the chat. I'm sorry that, you know, it just flew by. There's 20 people in here now. It's a little more manageable. When we get up over 30 and 40 and 50, it's kind of hard to keep up. Let's see. My mom thought I was crazy. Now she picks stuff from me. Yeah, Crystal. It's my whole family thought we were crazy because, like I said, everything's traditional gardening. And when we said, but we just have a container and we just put nutrient solution and we're growing plants, they're like, okay, whatever. And then when they come over and they see all these leafy greens all over the place, or you can, you know, take them, you know, sometimes we'll take that, you know, just like I said, we dump out the nutrient solution and just keep a load in there and transport it over there and then pour the nutrients back in when you get there. And you're like, here, you know, you don't need it in your refrigerator. It just keeps growing. You can eat. They're like, wow, you know, that's amazing. But, you know, when we first started, they think you're crazy, but until you start bringing over food. Good night. Let's see. Good night, Becky. Woohoo, season's creative. That would be fun. Okay, y'all are talking. Cool. Caught up. Yeah, I skipped ahead to the front. Like I said, if I missed any questions, y'all let me know. But I wasn't looking at the time. I was half an hour behind in the chat. I get to run my mouth so much. Yeah, we need to have an alert system somewhere. Or Keely tell me I'm talking too much. Let's see, Thomas. He cheated and jumped to the bottom. Yeah, I cheated. That's the only way. There's no way I could keep up with all of that. Year and a half or so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it must have been. Time goes by fast because it was before last Christmas. Because I remember everybody getting excited about New Year's and that, and we'd already known each other a couple of months, about a year and a half. All right. One more. David Womack. Thanks for coming in. Any hints on moving starts from soil to hydro? I'm about 50-50. No, I just, if you watch some of my videos, we just try to get the soil off. Since you're not using pumps or aeration and all of that, you don't have to worry about clogging up a pump. Then you don't have to worry about getting everything off of the roots. If you sit there, sometimes if it was grown in soil and you sit there and you're washing and pulling and breaking roots off and just really, you know, tearing it apart, trying to get every little bit off, you're going to traumatize that plant when you go to transplant it. At least that's what I found. If you feel like sitting there all day and kind of swishing it around and gently getting everything off, I'm usually in a hurry. I like to spray most of it off. Whatever doesn't fall off and dip it in a little water, whatever doesn't come off, I leave on and set it in, and it'll still grow in it. If you get too much of it in there, then your water is going to turn mucky and, you know, start to decompose. So you don't want too much of it. And so you spray off as much as you can, but I try not to terrorize the little plant too much and rip it apart too much when I go to transplant it. Otherwise, like I said, if you start, I like the transplants because you get a head start, like a couple of weeks head start. But if you grow microgreens and you always have microgreens growing, that's why you don't see me doing 10-20 trays like most of the farmers do, because I'll grow smaller batches. Then you'll have them growing to a certain length, and then you can start another small one. Doesn't take a couple minutes, you know, sprinkle little seeds, cover it up and let it sit, and you have them growing at different lengths and different times, and then you can transplant some of those And if you eat those or you need some more, you've always got some more microgreens coming. And if you don't need them to transplant, then you can eat the microgreens. And then if you don't eat the microgreens, if you need them, you'll have something to put in there. So if you always keep a couple of microgreens in small batches growing, then you'll always have something to put into these, and you'll have leafy greens all year round. And it won't be traditional gardening is where we wait for spring or we wait for fall. You know, we're waiting all through the winter or the hot summer and waiting for that one time to go out there and plant your garden. And then everything all comes in at one time and you're trying to eat it or trying to share it or trying to freeze it or can it. This is, you keep microgreens growing when you eat some, or if a plant dies or a bird squash one or something, you pull it out and you pull a microgreen out, put it back in its place, and then you just have your greens going all year round. Takes a little bit of practice, but that's pretty cool. I took my aunt a spare mint plant in a water bottle, and she's amazed how lush and lively the plants was. Yeah, mint's cool. We've got mint that lasts like years and years, and we had like a tote we filled up with it, and it just goes wild. And that can save a lot of money if you use mint in your smoothies and that, like every day. That's pretty cool to have that, and it's an easy plant. Thanks, Mike. That answered my question. I think I've been trying to get it all off. Yeah, that's what I did. I did it first, and then, like I said, since if you're doing anything that has a pump in it, you want to try and get almost everything off, because it just takes a little bit of debris to get in there and clog up the pump, and then all of a sudden you don't have water going through your NFT, and then you come back and everything's dead. But if you're doing like this, the Kratky system, and you don't have pumps and aeration, a little bit of debris in there doesn't hurt anything. So I try to be as gentle with the plant as I can. Alrighty, I think I'm caught up. If anybody else has any last minute questions or anything to share, like I said, I appreciate everybody showing up. Well, we're up to 23 people again. I'm going to let you all go because it's been, well, we've been in here 2.5 hours again. Maybe we'll try. I'll get better at this and speed up and try to get through the questions. But if I missed anything, y'all join either the Keep On Growing on Facebook page and just make a post and put your question in there. And even if I don't get to it, there's a bunch of other fantastic people in there. We'll get to that. If you want just me to answer it, hit me up on Twitter or Instagram. It's Mike Van Duzy everywhere, and you can DM me. And I usually go through there every day or every couple of days, and I try to answer the questions on there. And if not, I might be back next week. It depends on, like I said, we've got the creator friends. I'm going to be live streaming there and introducing a lot of them. I want a lot of people, even though you're not a creator, to get to know these people, because there's a lot of fantastic stuff. Just like me sharing what I know and making videos, you notice that sometimes I get a little carried away with my video, and this is more information based. But there's a lot of fantastic people out there making like really cool videos, or they have really cool information to share. But if you look on YouTube, you'll never see them, because they're just promoting like the bigger YouTube people, and there's millions of creators, so you may never find them. And I want to introduce a lot of them to you. So I'm doing these live streams and introducing people on other channels called the Creator Spotlight channel. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and so I'll try to get back here like next week if you guys want to, and I'll be a little more diligent, because I know I catch a lot of you by surprise, and I say I might be there Sunday, and people are what time, and I don't really know yet, because I think that if I put out an announcement for the week and I jump in here, that we might have like 100 people, and there's no way. You guys just saw what 30 to 50 people I get so far behind. If I tell people and they have all week to wait for it and plan on it, we might have too many in here. But going forward, like I said, I'm testing this out. If you see this little thing, StreamYard, the little duck up there, it's because this is the free version. I'm just testing it today with the comments. And this is where I can pop up your comment on the side, and it's really easy. It's cheap software. What do you call it? I'll pay for the paid version, and like all of this will go. And then I've got other things, but this is just a practice. But I can use this to have some other people in here with me. So if I have somebody else join us, like CB or Brad with the Hidden Harvest Grow Lights, one of these people, I'll ask them to join us one night, and they can actually answer some of your questions too, and I can go through and interact with you in the chat and back and forth, and it'll be a little more, if I have a little help here, it'll work out a lot better for you guys than just me trying to keep up with so many people. Great stuff, great always. Yes, thanks Hydroponic, great stream, Mike. I'm learning lots. All right, Susan, appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. Love your stuff and that. You're, like I said, you're an artist. My wife, you know, we really appreciate stuff like that. So glad you two could hook up. Thanks. Good night. All right, Ben, good night. See where everybody's going. Bye. Okay, yeah, everybody's saying good night. Accidentally found a light. What do you stayed with you? Originally, I just found you. Oh, so you're an accidental one? Cool. We like that. That's what I'm talking about with YouTube and putting the stuff out in the algorithm so that people can find you. That if I'm just real straight and narrow, just hydroponics, and then it knows who to, you know, put it out and who to suggest it to. But then if I start going off to cooking and doing my other wacky stuff, it confuses the algorithm, and then it doesn't know who to serve it up to. And then you know, like I said, we can reach a whole lot more people if we have a direct path that we're, you know, and stay on the straight and narrow, which I don't like doing. I like to stray. Okay, let's see. Hydroponic gardening plus question. Skip necessary. What do you use to edit? Okay, that's my wife asking a question. Thank you for your time. Alaska folks growing greens minus 30 degrees, and our summer is 24 hours in daylight. Oh my goodness, that would be awesome. We'll put suggestions to work. Awesome, appreciate it. Like I said, join the Keep on Growing group too. Send me pictures when you do. I want to see that. I can imagine 24 hours of sunlight. That'd be awesome. And cooler temperatures. Spring Hill Farms up there, that's in Canada. It's like snow all over the place, and they have their greenhouse and the lettuce growing everywhere. All right, guys. Good night. Stacy Morgan, good night. I know there's 20 more of you. And I'm sorry I'm going to get better at this. I had the camera right here, and it's hard for me to keep up. So I know it doesn't look like I've been staring at you guys all night, but I'm not. I'm in the chat. This was so I could pull it closer if I need to, but I'll get this all sorted out. So if I wasn't staring right at you, I'm sorry for 2.5 hours. I'm not being rude, but you guys have a good night. I'm going to sign off. It's been real fun. Like I said, y'all go in a group and ask me questions. We'll do this again. I'm going to try my hardest next Sunday. If anybody wants any other time, if something else, you know, Sunday nights may be hard for some people. If there's any time during the week or morning or night, I know there's people on the other side of the world. So you guys tell me if you see this later in the comments below, if you see this in replay, if there's a better time for me to have a live stream for some other people so we get all our friends in there. So good night, everyone. Appreciate y'all coming in and asking questions and sharing with everybody. All right, so I'll do the little live to inspire, keep on growing, and be the change. Mr. Doozy out.